What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is I, D.H. Thorne, your good friend in darkness, as well as the resident pervert. No, I'm just kidding. Our good friend, Flesh Priest. What is up, everybody? How's it going? It's a beautiful evening tonight, I think. What do you guys think? Hopefully my sound check wife will let us know how we're doing. Are they? I see a lot of text. Are they beautiful? Are they actually beautiful? I know some of them are. Flesh is silent. Flesh is silent. Yeah, apparently you're silent. Arshida, you are silent. That is bullshit. All right, let me fix it. I will adjust it. Let me not burn myself here now that I got this set up. Technical difficulties. I bet you I know why. I think I know exactly why, and I bet you I'm not going to be able to fix it. I bet you I know why. Hold on. See, now you can get away with that, see? That's right, you can get away with that now. Okay. Say something. Nope, that ain't it. That's not working. You know what it is? Because I'm using these new, this new earbud. Say something. Nope. Just keep making noise. I'll figure it out. There we go. I bet you it's working now. There we go.
Smell of
okay. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties. I know what it is. I got this new Bluetooth earbud. And the Bluetooth changes the settings on my computer as to what the default audio comes through as. So if OBS is being a... well, we'll just say a pain in the ass.
A fuck knuckle.
A fuck knuckle. Or this many issues, really. But, yeah. Yeah, so that's what happened. So anyway, guys, hello, welcome. Welcome to the stream.
Demon Days, you'll have to let me know what a wolf moon is, because that sounds fucking bitchin'.
Oh, no, that's pretty, well, there's actually a couple different meanings of that, but yeah, Demon Days, tell us what you think of it. There's a Typo Negative song, Wolf Moon.
Ooh, okay. I need to actually listen to Typo Negative, because I know that you and Camilla are fucking big on Typo, and I just have never taken the plunge.
Should be first full moon
I know
of the
he
year,
sings like this, though.
Yeah, it should be the first full moon of the year, if I remember correctly, what a wolf moon is. I'll have to look it up. Tonight I actually have to give my offerings to my guys tonight. But I have actually, you know, one of the things that I do want to bring up a little bit, let me turn this music down a little bit. I think that's going to be cracking some people's eardrums a little bit. One of the things I would like to speak about a little bit is sort of a little bit of a shift in my work as of late. And you kind of mentioned it when we were getting started, because I was talking about how I want to start moving a little bit out of just the left-hand circles that I generally talk and work in, right? It's kind of like there's a lot more to my philosophy and metaphysics than just left-hand path magic, demonolatry, all that stuff. In fact, even though I've used the term, I don't consider myself like very clearly a demonolator, right? I don't see myself that way, because I'm not worshiping anything, for one thing. I treat the beings as legitimately there, as aspects both of my identified self, in other words, D.H. Thorne, this character, but also as a part of the collective conscious of humanity, as well as a mask for general consciousness of the universe, of the omniverse, as I call it. So I'm not denying anything. I'm not saying that none of those things have a place in my work. It's just the primacy of my work is not about spirit worship or spirit communion or any of that stuff. That's actually not the focus, which kind of disappoints some people, because I think some people, you know, it disappoints me a little bit, to be honest. Some people, I think, they don't get as into the really deep and meaningful things that I really enjoy trying to teach and share. They're more interested in, what did King Paimon say the other night when you did a ritual with him? It's almost like they want the fruit of the labor without ever learning to do the work themselves. And to me, that's a little sad. I think that's a little sad.
I mean, to jump in on that, like, I do get it. Like, it is sad. I don't know, because I'm guilty of that too. Because you start talking to Alan Watts and everything like last night, it's like, okay, yeah, this is cool. Like I agree with what you're saying. It's just, oh man, it's not sexy. It's not what the kids want. The kids
Right?
want to hear about what the fuck is looser. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that's just a fun story. It's not as fun to it's not fun in the same way to hear that we are the universe, but that doesn't make it any less important.
You know what it is that it's the same reason that we're here. You know, if we wanted truth, we wouldn't be here. Right? If we wanted just the truth of what is, we wouldn't be distracting ourselves with these fleshy blobs that we call self. So, to be brutally fair, at the same time, there's there's um there's definitely some wisdom in the idea of framing things through spirit work, talking about things, using them as sort of avatars for what we're trying to talk about. But, you know, one thing I don't like being is insincere. If I don't hear it from a spirit, I don't like to say that I did. If,
Hmm.
you know, even if I feel the spirit maybe inspired me to research it, I don't want to say, oh, this spirit told me this. I'll be like, oh, the spirit gave me this direction to look in. And I am not religious. I am irreligious. I am anti-religion. I believe religion is a complete and utter waste of time, energy, and it's a big stumbling block. Though I will say, maybe I should caveat that and say, I guess it can serve as training wheels for people's spirituality, I suppose. For people who need the discipline of practice and things like that, religion can be useful. But I think that it tends to be a stumbling block long term. I think at some point you absolutely have to kind of walk away from it a little bit. You have to move into your own personal practices, your own personal beliefs and understandings, and going beyond just what, you know, the religion says. You know, pray this many times on Sunday. You know, like that's not spirituality. And you know, maybe it's a unique feature of myself in that I get burned out if I do the same things for too long. If I constantly work with the same spirits every week, every month, every whatever, I eventually go, I don't feel like talking to that spirit. I just don't feel like going through the ritual. It's like a good friend that you love but you don't want to talk to every day. You know,
Yeah.
I guess that's it. I'm an Aries scanner, right? I like breaking new ground. I like climbing new mountains, and I don't like doing the same thing every week.
Yeah, and well, it's like with you and me. Like we hang out and play games every week, and I fucking love you. I enjoy your company and I look forward to it. But if we were hanging out in the same room every single day, Friday would roll around. It's like, man, I've got taxes to do or something. Like,
Or something.
hey man, I think we should hang with other people every now and then. I
We
mean, I
should
see a
see
lot of
other
you.
people. Did he just give me the we should see other people line?
It's
Oh
not you,
damn.
it's me.
It's not it's a good size, I swear. Um, yeah, but no, you're 100% right. And honestly, the only thing that I return to without fail is the contemplation and communion with the source of what is. I prefer to come back whenever possible. I like to come back around and explore what I truly am. I like to look for the eye behind the eye. I like to understand the all-seeing eye, because I believe that ultimately, when everything is said and done, that is what the first step of proper ascension is. You have to identify and recognize what you truly are. And in so doing, the rest of this sort of becomes so much simpler and so much easier to comprehend. This is why you guys tune into me. Like this is what makes me not sad. When I say sad, I'm not like, oh, boo-hoo, but it's a little, I wish it inspired as much as it inspires me. And it's one of the reasons why I can have a communication with spiritual beings at all. It's one of the reasons why these things to me became remotely possible again after so much interference from skeptical, rational perspectives. I had to find a way in which these things can be not just real and true, but understandable in a way where how do I put this? If someone came to me and said, you know they're not real, right? I don't need to justify it. I don't need to explain it. I don't need to prove to anyone. I needed to find my own source and then see what masks wore it, see how it worked. So again, when I say it makes me sad, I'm not like boohoo sad. I think it's sad because people find it so exciting and they want to hear the stories, but they could have the same stories and the same understandings very easily if they practice the basic fundamental study of non-duality and everything associated with that, all of the different expressions of it. You'll notice I don't say that I'm a Vedantist. You notice I don't say that I'm a Buddhist or that I'm a Zen monk or any of those things, even though I'll occasionally have the trappings of those things. That's not what I am, okay? I am just an individual who finds these things really exciting. You know, I find them to be really just a kind of, okay, like we like music, right? So music is the truth, but is rap more true than metal? Is country more true than classic? Is there, you know, of course not. They're all music.
Somebody who listens to everything? Hell no.
Right. So that's what I'm saying is when it comes to, I don't choose any one of those particular things. I'm more than eclectic. I don't think even eclectic, eclectic is almost like a willful desire to just collect all different kinds of absurd, obscure things. I'm more of I'm like the New York like New York City of spirituality. Like I'm a big blending pot. Like just give me everything, and I'm just going to stir it up and just make this terrible stew out of it. And that's kind of like what I see, because I think they all see like a deep truth there.
Yeah, keeping with the music analogy, you're kind of over here saying like Kanye can give you some good shit, but why the fuck are you all worshiping Kanye? That's fucking dumb. You guys, music theory is right over here. We can understand the source of all of this and like let's get to the root. Kind of. But then you can also have fun trying to imagine what a musical genre would sound like that has literally every possible genre in it. What would that sound like? Would it sound like Kid Rock with like rap and rock mixed together and a little bit of country twang in it? What would it sound like? Like, what would that be like? And we find out that, that's kind of not unlike trying to understand what's really going on. It's we see all of these things and say, that's true, that's true, that's true, that's true. But yet we also say, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true. And this is why they have a practice called neti, via negativa, where they identify the true nature of reality by using negative description. God is not this, God is not that. Truth is not this, truth is not that. One way to put it would be like, if I'm looking for a needle in a haystack, there's a number of ways to do it. Okay. The hard way is to just go piece by piece. Right? Is that a needle? No. Is that a needle? No. It'll take you as long as it can take you, and it's going to be boring, and there's a chance you'll make a mistake, and you might even pick it up, and it'll be part of something, and you won't even see it. Very likely. Very possible. If the needle's iron, you might get a Weisenheimer say, well, if I get a good magnet, maybe I can get it to attract to it. I can pull it out. That's very intelligent. That's very good. But there's one other way, that if the haystack is big enough and the needle is fine enough, and or not fine enough, but if it's a big enough haystack and you're really going to suffer, even with a magnet, it's going to be a pain in the ass. Well, why not burn the whole haystack down? Just set the whole thing on fire, burn it down. The only thing that's going to be left is the needle. And eventually you'll find the needle. And this is what, neti means, right? Via negativa. This is what it means to remove the chaff, to remove the things that are delusional about everything. This is why I think everybody, going back to the spiritual part that everybody gets into, the gods and demons part, this is why I think so many people spend so much time researching who was this spirit before they became this one. So in other words,
people will say, well, who was King Paimon before he was King Paimon? Because obviously he couldn't always have been King Paimon. There's no record of King Paimon really before a certain year. There's just no record. So how can, what interaction do you have with mankind? So did he have a different name? Was he known as a different spirit? And if so, who? Okay. And I've identified going back to, we'll say, we'll call it Atlantis, but that's not the real name for it. We'll call it Atlantis. So there's a truth going back at least that far, but between Atlantis and like the 14th, 15th, 13th century, I got nothing. I don't know who he would have been. Right? I don't know that you could. I'm not even sure that if you watch my video about his name and connecting him to King Aemon of Atlantis, if you look it up, that is legitimately a name. Now, maybe there's some people who are Islamists or Muslim who will say, oh no, there's a jinn. There's a genie, there's a jinn, there's definitely a spirit in our culture that's probably King Paimon. And others will say, well, Paimon means tinkling, right? The tinkling of bells, right? And so they'll say, oh, it's something to do with that. That's great. That's all great. But look at King Paimon. Pretty cool. Let's compare him to Asmodee. Asmodee, being Asmodeus, being Ashimedeva, you can go all the way back thousands of years and find evidence of people interacting with that entity in different names for a long time. So you and I were talking before we got on just briefly, and I said, yeah, I'm kind of bored with the Goetia lately. My problem with the Goetia is that the Goetia is a bit of a dead end if you're trying to go deep. It's a good starting point. It's a great place for people who want to learn magic and use spiritual magic, and they don't want to deal with necessarily the pagan limitations. When I say pagan limitations, I mean the Goetia is a very open system for interpretation. If you go to any Goetic system, there are those who like to talk about how there's this kind of truth about each spirit, but they get very small little groups to agree with them. You get these dogmatic people who say King Paimon is this way and only this way. And whenever that happens, you get a really strong push from someone else. And there is no big dog that wins. There is no final authority. I'll give you an example like E.A. Koetting. So E.A. Koetting, much bigger channel than me, right? And what he says about a spirit tends to set the precedent. And a lot of people go with it because it inspires it or it's accurate or whatever the reason is. But if I were to completely counter him about something, most people would say, oh, well, that's just a new aspect. That's just something that's a little different because Thorne's trustworthy and sincere as well, or whatever reason. Or they say Thorne maybe is wrong or he doesn't see the whole picture. I had it happen today. Someone commented on one of my Lucifer videos, and they were very doctrinal and dogmatic about who Lucifer is according to their belief system, which places Lucifer as a literal alien being on another planet that is part of this, Anunnaki thing about rescuing us from all this stuff. It's a very interesting theory. But to me, it's beyond just being a conspiracy theory, which I'm not opposed to. You know that. I entertain them. It's that it's very dogmatic. No. Yeah, I know. I shocked myself with that one. It's very dogmatic. And so my problem with it is only that it feels very, very limited in scope. It feels like, oh, that's all it is, right? When Lucifer is an alien on another planet that's setting us free from the Anunnaki stuff, that's really cool. That makes for good writing. That's a great story. And if it's compelling to you, go with it. But I feel like limiting it there probably isn't fair. It's probably not accurate, and it's probably not fair. To say that you can go back to Sumeria with it, yes, I agree. You can actually bring Lucifer all the way back to Enki, Enki from the Sumerian Akkadian current, way back. I think that's the same general entity manifesting in different cultures, okay? But to say that it's a little alien being like what was that movie, Battlefield Earth, where like they're coming down, like they just want the gold and all that, like, okay, like that's cool, but
don't bring Scientology up here, bro.
I'm not, but I'm just saying if you want to put it in like that kind of a weird context, I say weird, and I realize that to that person listening, they're probably gonna be like, Thor, you're mean, you don't get it, it's not true, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, and, I apologize immediately for that, because that's not my intention. I'm just expressing my reflection of what I'm seeing. If it's true, then Lucifer will probably smack me around someday, be like, I am an alien and you shall be abducted by me and see the truth. But I don't feel that. I don't feel that that's fair or accurate. I think that what I understand about the nature of self and cosmos and the universe, the only rational truth are the ones that I try to talk about in that non-dualistic, that kind of sense. Not that there can't be physical aliens running around doing all kinds of cool shit, but that it is an incredibly inferior waste of energy and time for people to be traveling the universe in warp drives if you are the source and your consciousness is as fluid and capable of moving as the smoke from this incense. If you are as fluid and capable of moving as your eyes flickering around a screen. If you can move your consciousness from place to place, you don't have to pick up your body and go anywhere. You just focus on another part of your totality of self. And this is why I talk so often about how you can move your awareness throughout your body, and that can become the new center of your awareness for a while. We all do this all the time. You do it every day. Everyone does it. This is why there's actually meditations. I was talking to my friend Johan the other day. There's meditations. There's two forms of mindfulness. There's the focused form of mindfulness, in which you focus on a single thought, experience, or idea to the exclusion of others, and you completely, it's the focused state that I talk about. Then there is the state where you are fully mindful of all experiences that you're having without necessarily turning off thoughts, but you're not keeping them on. It is that Zen mindfulness. And Zen mindfulness is just how much of your experience can you be in tune with at once without being limited to just one expression of experience. Can you, for example, during meditation, maybe begin by breathing in through your lungs and feeling that breath and focusing on that? That's a good place to start. But can you expand your awareness to also include your extremities and your mouth and your nose and your eyes and what it feels like when the wind blows across you, or what the chair under you feels like, all at the same time? Can you become fully aware of all of those things at the same time? I challenge everybody watching right now. I challenge you all right now. I hope that you meditate on some occasion. I hope. If you don't, you should. But if you do, I really want you to try that. I challenge you. Go into a meditative state, and then at the same time, at the exact same time, I want you to not just focus on one experience, but all of them as much as you can. How many can you pick up at the same time without going? So like what usually happens is when you try to do that, your awareness...
Like a juggle?
It's like a juggle. You flicker, right? Now, I'll give you an example, right? You can do this with your hands right now. If you go like this, do a movement with your hands. Go ahead, humor me. You can kind of feel what both hands are feeling at the same time because they're kind of synced by the action you're doing, right? But do this, and now tell me what your feet are feeling at the exact same time. And then tell me what your nose feels like at the same time. And then tell me how many things can you actually build on top of. Right, exactly. You start to reach a limit where your awareness kind of has trouble picking up on the rest. Why is that? Is it just neurological, or is there something more to it than that?
It's a very good question.
So is it that your consciousness is only permitted a limited point of contact with something biological? So the biology is somehow limiting it? Or is your biology not the limit, but your psychological... And back in the olden days, once upon a time, psychology and spirit were synonymous. They weren't that different. Your psychological state was your spiritual state. So in my worldview, they're not so far apart that they can't be talked about in the same context. Is it that your psychology of your consciousness is limited? Has your consciousness simply said, I only want to know this much, because if I know too much, it might set me free a little too much.
I might get out of the video game.
Maybe, right? Maybe. Or is it not even that? That's a good example, and I say that too. And this ginger ale is making me want to burp, so if I go, brah, please excuse me. Is it also possible that it's not just that it might make you eject from the matrix? That's one possible reason. What if it is also the nature of consciousness such that in order to have this vibrant reality that we experience, it has to be focused? And if it pulls back, it's just like trying to read a book from 12 feet away, right? If you put your nose right up to a computer screen, you can make out each little pixel really, really well. You get close enough, you can see the three lights, even in the tiny little, if you've got a HD, not HD, but a 4K screen, you can actually make out the little light pixels if you really get close enough. When you do that, can you see the whole picture? No, you can't see anything. But you really know those three little lights really well. If you zoom out, though, if you pull back, there comes a point where it's like a sweet spot where you get to see all of this pattern going on. And it's really cool. And if I zoom out a little further, it starts getting harder and harder to see the details of that little square that we see, until at some point you pull back so far, you can't see what's going on that screen at all. So what if consciousness is not a all-encompassing awareness? Or what if it is, but it would be depriving itself of the beauty of this scale that it's seeing right now? If it zoomed in all the way and could tell you exactly what the tip of my finger is feeling, and only that, but in a really vivid, awake way, the way that I do with the rest of my life. If I became the tip of my finger and I was like convinced that I was the tip of my finger, and as I'm waving it around, I feel like I'm being waved around, right? I'd have a really good awareness of what it's like. If I touch something, like, wow, that would be my whole experience. That would be amazing. But then I would miss out on all of the rest that my body's doing. So in the same vein, I'm focused on this right now. I'm not focused on this and you. I'm not focused on this and the whole chair. I'm only experiencing the chair through this little keyhole of awareness. This is why the imagery of the all-seeing eye is an eye looking through a triangular keyhole. It is the meaning of the all-seeing eye is so deep. Like people say, oh, that's God, right? And maybe to them it was. But the metaphor of the all-seeing eye is a perfect metaphor for the high consciousness that you are, peering through this little keyhole of what you are, and the limited viewpoint that you've given yourself to experience this the way you do. But that eye, if you look at it, it does look like it's looking through a little keyhole, and you get the impression that there's more behind it, something infinite, and it's just one eye. Right? So how do we, when you guys are talking to me and you're like, oh, what does King Paimon say? This is the stuff that King Paimon's like, no, you're good. You focus on that. No. I'm not here to tell you that. That's not what King Paimon's here to tell you. Right?
I think it's certainly more important to point somebody in the direction to have the gnosis, to have the experience themselves, than to just say, do all this. That True. Is where I think that's probably partially being in your situation of why it can feel weird too and very dogmatic with the Goetia, is because I think a lot of people want answers. And I don't know, I think people definitely want the experience themselves, but yeah, I'm certainly guilty of that sometimes, being a little bit too armchair and not enough. Go out and just do it.
Yeah.
Need to experience it.
That's the other end of the sadness that I'm talking about. And I was actually on my way to make a post the other night in a very bitchy kind of mood about it, because I was getting the impression that some people were like, why are you not talking about spirits so much anymore? And there's a lot of reasons for it. But one of them is that I feel like for now, focusing so much, especially on just the goetic spirits, is becoming more of a limiting dogmatic filter, and I don't like it. My ancient need to wake up is telling me that you had a lot of fun waking up to the goetic current. You're not going to leave it behind. You're still going to use it, but don't get typecast. Don't let yourself become just the Goetia guy, because really I'm not. Like the Goetia, I've only got like 24 spirits that I've done demon and reviews about, and only some of them, not all of them have been goetic. A lot of them have been from other things. At some point, I think the Goetia is similar to the Necronomicon's book of 50 Names of Marduk. It becomes kind of like just magic words. It becomes a superstition. And it can become, like I've said before, like that whole Pokemon got to catch them all type of thing, right? Like, Thorne's not that powerful because he hasn't conjured every single demon there is. Well, okay, there's a lot of charlatans out there that will do a big ritual and say, I just conjured all of them, look how powerful I am. And then they are living in their mom's basement still,
Beholdeth Solomon's cup, it overfloweth with spirit.
Wow, that's impressive.
Look at all the spirits within. I am truly Pokemon Master. Reward me, Professor Oak.
Yeah. So I guess the moral of tonight's story, as I'm describing it, is I'm not trying to dissuade you. What I'm trying to do is to say, right now, many of you are just taking your first steps into a larger world, to quote Obi-Wan. But that larger world you think you're stepping into is just the woodshed. You're literally stepping out of a little box and into a woodshed. It is so much bigger. Max Avery says, it's a very nice basement. Actually, it is a very nice basement.
Speaking of which, I didn't want to interrupt earlier, but now is a good opportunity. Super chat from Max Avery says, some cash to support Flesh Priest's new and improved backdrop. Thank you, brother.
We have to make sure we reach the quota tonight so you actually get the portion.
Hey, this is reward to myself.
Honestly, dude, I would be like, I love that. I'm actually more impressed with your back. I mean, I'm jealous. I'm gonna have to start upgrading mine a little bit. I'm impressed. Like those red LEDs are like, I told you, they're doing it for me. Like I feel like that's Mount Doom over there, and that's like the red fucking fire just pouring down lava in the background. It's badass.
And you know what? I'm gonna keep beating this joke like a dead horse. You were talking last week about how vain and not humble you are, but I'm the guy with a fucking picture of myself on the wall back there.
Right? Yeah, look at that. Well, so do I. That's what this is.
Okay, fair.
It's just mine's in code. That's a picture of myself and yourself and everybody's self. That is why it's called what do we call it, guys? Anybody want to tell me what that's called? Who wants to type it out? Let's get some audience participation. What is that called?
You said the secret word of the day.
Let's see who types it. What is this symbol that's over here? If you don't know, you need to buy my books, motherfuckers.
The magic circle. The magic circle of thorniness.
In fact, I won't tell you what it is. Hopefully someone's going to say it. We'll actually, hopefully someone, there we go. Someone got it. Anton Erickson got it. Trinity of Self. Thank you.
Your prize will be waiting in the mail.
Actually, I think they just signed up for what I'd like to talk about. I can double check. I think there's someone who just signed up for something. Let me see. I feel like they are. I might be wrong. Let me confirm this before. Yeah. Yes, they are. Cool. Anton, I sent you a private message on Patreon, brother. Make sure you check that, man. That's going to be really important because I don't know if there's a couple of you guys who signed up for what I'm about to talk about, and the Discord is set up for that. So if you're not there, make sure you jump on it. And if you haven't, if you need help, just message me and we'll try to figure it out for you. So,
speaking of fucking Discord, I was insanely confused earlier I think it was yesterday. I was at work and I got a little push notification on my phone that said Patreon had just joined us. Like, huh, we must be doing something right. Patreon is fucking subscribed to us. We're gonna be getting that Patreon money now.
That'd be nice, right? No, it's a Patreon bot. So,
Yeah, I saw that, but that's not as fun as the narrative in my head, so I'm gonna keep rolling with that. Fuck your reality. This is mine.
so the other day, I hit a moment of depression too, because that happens to me, especially with the winter months. Usually it's like that, late January, early February doldrum where I just feel cooped up and cabin fever. There's nothing going on. Everyone's just kind of feeling it around me. My vampiric empathy is just like, fuck, everybody's blue. And I'm not into anything. So, I kind of get seasonal affective disorder a little bit. And it's not bad. I don't like cry in my beer or anything like that. But I get very just like, fuck it. I need a fuck it all. Like, I just feel like saying, fuck it all. I just want to play video games. I just want to watch movies. I just want to be left alone. And I look at even what I've accomplished and I go, that's pathetic. That sucks. I get like really negative, right? So I kind of tune everything out, and it can last a day or two at a time, right? And I take vitamin D. That does help because it gives me a little bit of what I'm missing when the sun's not out. But the good thing about it, though, is usually on the heels of that, there's like a rebound effect, right? And anybody who's ever gotten depression, some of you may experience like a rebound. So you'll be blue and you'll be bored and everything sucks. And then it's like, no, fuck that. And you go back up in a ballistic trajectory straight up, right? So that's what made me decide I'm going to finally start doing something I've been talking about doing for a long time, which is there's now going to be a weekly private live group meeting via Discord, which is going to be nothing like our live streams, or I shouldn't say nothing like, but it's not going to be like our live streams where it's a just like a bullshit fest.
Magical frat party.
Like a magical frat party. No, this is going to be more of a structured sort of classroom participation format that's going to run between 1 and 2 hours. And we're going to be covering everything from, the way I'm going to run it is kind of like, imagine a magical martial arts dojo class. Essentially, you're going to show up, we're all going to meet up. Within 5 or 10 minutes, we're going to get our greetings and all that out of the way and introductions about what we're doing. Then potentially anywhere from 10 minutes to a half hour of group meditation, guided meditation, maybe energy work, stuff like that. As well, after that, there will be a lecture, discussion, lesson period. That's going to be the typical format. I'll be using Become the Maelstrom, Shadownomicon, and the Vampire's Handbook as the base curriculum for everything. So if I ever get like, what to talk about today, I might just crack open the book and work out of it. So you don't have to have the books, but it will definitely be more fun for that if you have it. And then essentially, there will also be things that I plan on doing with live group ritual, where when we get a group of people that are confident enough to either watch and sit in or participate actively in their own temples, I will do live group ritual with people, maybe like once a month or something. We'll see whatever mood strikes, right? I'm not a person who feels like I have to do a ritual a month or something, but when the mood strikes, we'll do so, if there's something we want to attempt to do. So if you're interested in that, now is the time to, in the live chat, there's a pinned post that takes you to a link to my Patreon page. There is a limited number of slots right now. I'm only doing it once a week to start with, and I think the price is ridiculously cheap. It's $20 a month, and it's going to be weekly. Unless I get sick or something, it's going to be every week. So if you're interested in that, now here's the thing. Some people are going to say, well, I can't make it on Mondays between 3 and 5 like you're planning. If you're still interested and you don't mind, I'm going to be recording them all. And then I'll be uploading them separately to a private unlisted YouTube link so that you can actually tune in later. So if you miss it, you're late, you got work, but you still want to watch it like you were there, that's what it's for. So you can go check that out later. This way it comes out. So of course, if you do it, you're also agreeing to me recording you. That's in the fine print, but it's mainly just for that purpose or for sharing the occasional promotional stuff. So we've already got, I think, 4 people signed up, and that I also have 2 extras for my mentorship. Anybody who's in my regular mentorship program, that's included free of charge. You can join that every week on Monday as well. So if you want my mentorship services instead, that's much higher. That's 150 a month, but that's personal, one-on-one. We get a good schedule going, and I meet with you specifically for that for at least an hour, usually like 2. So mentorship's a good deal, but this is an added little, like, I'm doing one of these jabbies too.
What I'm basically getting to this, to put in my layman's terms for people, this is kind of like for the people that watch these streams and are like, wow, I really like when DH goes off on his really deep meditations, and man, wouldn't it be great if I had a guaranteed call in where I could talk with him? And Flesh Priest is so dreamy, but sometimes I wish he would just shut the fuck up and let DH speak. This is probably for you.
To be fair,
course,
dude,
we don't
I
have
don't
anybody
think
who thinks that about me.
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure they're more likely to say I wish Thorne would shut up, because I'm the one who's just like a fucking jabberjaw all the time. Yes, for real though. I mean, if you guys like what I do, but you feel like our live streams can be they're fun and they're informative, but hey, can we make this more like a real lesson where I learn something? Yeah, we can do that. So I hope to see some of you guys there. Hopefully some of you guys join up. If not, it's cool. If it bums out and we only get 4 or 5 people to it, I'll keep doing it so long as I got the time to do it. It'll be fun for me. And it'll just build from there. But, I realize that right now, so many things are weak in terms of finances for people. I know that there's a lot of people who, especially with everything that happened over this past year, there's a lot of people struggling. So I'm looking around, I'm like, well, nobody else is offering it for 20 or 30 bucks, right? Everyone's like, oh, 100 bucks, 50 bucks, this, that. I'm like, no, you know what? Let's do a good group class. Let's get a lot of people in there. Let's really try to make something bigger that's going to be really useful. Something that people can really look at and say, hey, this is a way that I can learn and get a teacher and get a group that will actually maybe help me, because if there's a lot of people together, you guys have, other people you can draw upon. It's going to be like a classroom. You can ask your peers. You can engage with people outside of me. And you get a classroom experience, which I think a lot of people need. And that, to be brutally honest, I think that what I have to offer is even good for experienced, people in the occult, right? I think it's actually good for people of much more advanced skill levels too. Because I don't just teach magic, I'm teaching the metaphysics. That's my focus. I do the metaphysics as the teacher of the magics. If you understand the metaphysics of what I'm doing, and I don't mean just intellectually, if I get you to have a momentary experience of, holy shit, I am the universe. If I get you to have that hair on end feeling of, oh my shit, oh my God, this isn't just a cool story, bro, this is for real. If I can help you get there with meditation and conversation, if I can get you to wake up to at least the first level of it, that threshold experience that I had, you will just say, look, this guy, I can do it myself. And you're going to go running out and have a great time. And I will be like, bye, motherfucker.
You tried to teach a man to fish.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love to just keep making money, but that's not, I want graduates. I want people who are done. That's what I really want. So, yeah. That's what I want. I want people who are done. I like people, but I get sick of people, man. I get sick of people.
You want some competition out there.
Nah, no one's ever going to compete with me. If they compete, that means I'm playing, and I'm not playing. If it gets to that point, I'll just walk away. I don't really care.
I want to shout out, we had some super chats. We have one from Patchwork. He says, reject, deny, banish the negative thoughts, brother. Fucking appreciate you, dude.
You know
and
what?
Also,
I'm gonna bicker with that, but I'm gonna wait till you finish the next one. Go ahead.
We also have one from Jay Sauber. They did not actually say anything. They just gave a tip. So
I know who Jay Sauber is. Jay, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. I've been very vacant from Facebook, so if I didn't get back to you, I'm gonna check on it tonight. Hopefully I'll remember. I only go there a little bit to post things and to keep up with 1 or 2 people, and then I don't go back on for like 2 or 3 days. So If you would ask me a question, I will get back to you tonight, hopefully. But maybe even this thing I'm telling you would be of interest to you. Hopefully it's at a time you'd be interested in. And Jay Sauber's a cool guy. I like Jay Sauber a lot. He was one of my earliest, we'll say, supporters from back in the day when I went pro. And he's a good guy. And he's a real good guy. And he does some cool stuff. So thank you, Jay. Thank you so much, man. So Patchwork, I'm gonna wring his gorgeous little neck. Where is he? Bring him on here now. Well, maybe he'll call in tonight. We can actually have a debate about it. That's right. We were going to do Necronomicon night, weren't we? And you're talking and I don't hear you. You must have muted yourself.
I did. Whoops. Yeah, about 12 minutes and call-ins will open up. And then, I don't know, maybe you'll be able to wring his neck through Skype.
I'm gonna take him like Play-Doh and no, I'm not going to do that. I disagree with what he says.
Boys, put down the knives.
No,
I'm going to last week with JS.
I appreciate the sentiment, Patchwork, because I know what you mean. But from a very real place, I'm going to disagree with the sentiment, though. I don't believe that the right answer to any problem is to bury your head in the sand and deny and avoid. And I'm not saying that you need to fixate either. That's the other end of wrong. Denial and fixation are both the same demon. It's just the ass and the head of the same demon. Denial and attachment are just different forms of attachment. Denial is, I'm still attached to the problem. And it's so bad, I can't even look at it. Right? True non-attachment is the ability to literally set yourself on fire. Please don't do that, by the way. YouTube will ban me. I don't really care if you do it. It's just don't do it because then I'll get in trouble. I don't advise you to. Is literally setting yourself on fire and just going, it is what it is. Feeling all of the pain, maybe even screaming through it, because that's part of the experience too. But recognizing that the thing that's experiencing it isn't you. In other words, you're not the experience itself. You are the experiencer. You are the eye behind the eye. So all of that shit doesn't matter. If you're living in a really detached way, like I had somebody very nicely say, I've learned to just ignore the news and ignore this and ignore that. And I wanted to nicely say, well, don't be an ostrich with your head in the sand either, guys. That's not healthy. Like you can't, that's like saying, well, I don't like it when I'm getting raped, so I'm just going to ignore it, right? So I hate to use the charged language for anybody who's sensitive to that, but that is what it's like. You can't go through life just letting stuff happen to you, right? The key is to be fully aware, acknowledge the things that you can change. How's that saying go? What is it, the Irish prayer, or what is it kind of prayer? Give me the wisdom to know what I can change, something like the knowledge to know what I can change, the wisdom to know what I can't, and the strength to do both, or something like that. And I think it goes like that. Then the Irish version is, something about twisting people's ankles. I don't remember. I'm not Irish enough for that. I only have a little Irish in me.
I think the American one is Pass the Guns and Ammunition.
Oh, that's the song that we love in Fallout 76. Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. Praise the Lord. I love that part. I'm just like, if I was still Christian, that'd be me.
I gotta tell you, after a fucking hour of bopping around a fucking train station, just where the fuck do I find this damn key card? You just praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. Like,
I just walk up with it. I love that game, man. I'm almost level 50 now. I'm loving it, man. I'm having too much fun with that. I still have more than half the map to explore. It's fucking fun. And it's perfectly timed with the rest of the world the way things are right now. It's like, fuck it, we're all gonna die. Might as well do it. Might as well. That was
Pip Boy on now.
That was my Steam review of it. Was actually that
I saw that.
My Steam review is me and my friends are all preparing for the end of the world, something like that. So this is for my end of the world training group. Is in Fallout 76. Fucking badass. Good shit. So yeah.
You even had, I was talking with El the Alchemist at the top of the week, and he was asking about that game. He's like, oh yeah, that looks really cool. I heard you and DH are playing it. Like, oh, is it fun? Like, DH loves it. Like, I don't think every waking moment he can get on it, he's on it.
It's not that bad, but it's let's put it this way. I spent like 3 or 4 years where I only touched video games a little bit. I'm like, video game, like it's just like that's all I'm playing now. So
I think,
I'm basically slacking off with everything because of it, so it's not good. But that'll only last until I've reached a certain point where it's like I've seen it all. There's only so much you can do, at some point you'll be like,
yeah.
fuck this.
I think we're on opposite swingings of the pendulum there.
You're done with it already, and I'm like, woo.
Oh no, I just mean video games in general. Like I'll
Oh,
dabble a
okay.
little bit.
You're
Yeah,
more
just
out of the
like
games. You're more out of games right now, and not.
yeah, I'm trying to do so much other shit, or I'm just so busy with everything else. It's like, oh, I'd love to sit down and play a video game, but every time I do, like outside of our weekly hangouts, because that's different. It's
Mhm.
like every time I sit down and play a video game, it's like, oh, I should be doing something else. I've been telling myself I gotta be doing more music. I got my MIDI keyboard here, and why am I grabbing this controller, not the keyboard? Ah, fuck me,
Mhm.
man. Why
Mhm.
can't I just enjoy things?
Well, you were telling me that probably by next show you're going to have a new element to our show.
Oh, oh yeah. Anton Erickson, fuck yeah. I am also waiting for the Elite Dangerous update. I'm I'm fucking big on that.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna wait
so
for the reviews on that one. I ain't dropping. I ain't giving those fuckers any more money to get more
I mean
RNG fucking bullshit. No, I want to see.
it
Will it be a good update? And if not, nope, not gonna touch it.
I've been playing since 2015. They're gonna drop the ball at first. They're gonna drop
Well,
the ball, but
true.
eventually they'll come around. But yes. Um yeah, I'm gonna get off that because I could talk about Elite all night, but
I'm not
yeah.
saying I won't
Yeah.
play with you guys. I'm just saying that I don't think I'm gonna drop any money on it unless it looks worth it. So
So next week, I'm actually going to have this little bitch set up properly so that, using these buttons over here, I can just trigger sound effects like an obnoxious radio morning DJ during the live stream. So if you got any interesting sound effects or something you think we should play, fucking go on our Discord, that little link right above my head, join it, message Flesh Priest, let me know. What should we play? What should I play to annoy DH? Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition.
I see the numbers dropping every time we say that. It's like they go, Christians, and they run. Like, what's wrong with you guys? Like, come on, don't be like that. Yeah. So
They must be intimidated by the guns.
so as I was writing that Facebook post, where I was kind of negative, that was quite amazing that night, because as I'm sitting here saying I don't want to spend so much time just on spirits, and I want to, like, I'm feeling like that not sour grapes, but that kind of like I need to like stay over there. As I'm writing that post, which is similar to the sentiment I said before where it's making me sad, as I was thinking about it, I had thought about a solution to some of the problem, and one of them was, well, what about couching the lessons more in the language of spiritual work? In other words, using what they call upaya, which is skillful method, to say, all right, if everybody likes King Paimon so much, let's do an interview with King Paimon and write down what he says about some of these subjects and create some video and content about that. And maybe like suddenly now people are like, oh, if King Paimon suggests it, maybe that's really deep then. Because Thorne's just Thorne, but King Paimon, now that motherfucker. So as I thought that, this is going to be funny, a poltergeist basically happens in my house. Which to me, like, I have a way of like determining when I'm getting messages, and if something weird happens like that, the thought that I'm having at that moment is somehow relevant to what just happened. So if I'm thinking something to myself like, I don't know, we'll give it like a yes or no question. If I'm thinking like a yes or no thing, like, I wonder if I should do XYZ. If I suddenly like knock this candle over, like by accident, or if something gives and the candle falls over and it's like, oh shit, mass fire, that's a big negative, right? So that's like, oh shit, no, that's like a message. Nope, not going to do whatever that yes or no was. That's a sign to stop. I've done this in ritual many times. It happens to me mostly with Azazel. Like, Azazel and I don't get along that well, I got to be honest with you. Like, we're fine, but it's like doing ritual with him. Like, he's like, no, stop trying to show off with me. He does not like that, right? So if I'm in the middle of a ritual trying to show off with him, something goes wrong every fucking time. And like one time I was doing it and like this thing, it just knocked over, and it was me who did it. Like, but it was such a careless thing that's not like me that it was like I took it as like nope, so it's like a little bit of a lesson there. Like, be more humble. Look what you just did. You fucked up, right? So in this particular case, the feeling that I got when I was thinking this, the thing that happened, this poltergeist that happened, was all of a sudden, from somewhere in my vicinity, the sound of my automatic dog feeder with the little voice that we have programmed into it suddenly starts going off full blast. You know, saying my dog's name, come get it, like really loud. I'm like, what the fuck? And now, the reason this was weird, why it's a poltergeist. Number one, it's unplugged.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
Number two, it was not in use for a good 4 or 5 months since my dog had her teeth removed. We hadn't given her hard food in a while. We're only starting to give it back to her now. She's got just a couple left. So we didn't need the dry food dispenser, so we just kind of put it away and turned it off. Now, to be clear, it does hold batteries in it, but we didn't even know we put batteries in it. And it's been off for 3 or 4 months, sitting in a closet. And then you could argue, well, maybe somebody bumped the button and it turned on and it acted because it's set on a timer, right? Not for 3 in the fucking morning, it's not. It would have been set for 7 in the morning and 7 at night, or whatever it was, like 7 in the morning, 5 at night, something like that. Not 3 in the fucking morning. Not even with all of the daylight savings that happened. So there was very little rational way that this could happen. The only way I could fathom that it was rational that it could happen was maybe the batteries were running low and that caused some kind of a glitch in its memory. That's the only thing I can think of. But again, it was off and in the closet for 3 or 4 months. So it happened right as I was thinking that solution. And it made me jump, and it got me like really startled, and it got me really excited. And then I'm like, was that the answer, or am I supposed to do that? Or not supposed to, but is that the idea is that the inspiration? Is that the key? And I'm like waiting, and next thing I know, I'm hearing like my room is just full of like presence. Like the walls are creaking. I'm feeling like little movements. The air's moving around me. The hair's standing straight up everywhere on my body. And I'm like, okay, I'll treat this as inspiration. I will consider it. No promises, because I don't like being like dragged around by the nose, but I will definitely listen to your advice and consider it. So for those of you, if you start to notice that all of a sudden King Paimon or some other spirit starts sounding really non-dualistic in the future, that could be a piece of why. Or maybe they'll correct me and I'm wrong. Maybe Azazel will be like, it's not non-duality. There's only God, and it's Jehovah and all this, and he is evil, and we are fighting against him and all that. Who knows? Maybe that's what it'll be.
Thorne, you fool! The Mormons were correct this whole time.
And the Scientologists at the same time. They were where they intersect is the truth.
You are all so blind. None of you are getting into heaven.
Oh man, look,
fuck.
Mormon heaven, or I don't know. We'll see. Can I dip my toe in it before I say what I want to do?
I mean, fuck, I could go with having my own planet. That sounds kind of dope. There's a lot of other fucked up shit, but yeah, the planet part sounds nice.
That'd be cool. Yeah, it'd be kind of neat. I don't know. I personally like, and I personally think the movie What Dreams May Come. I got to be careful because when I was working at Blockbuster when that movie came out, someone would ask for that movie, and we'd be like, they tell us the movie they want, and be like, oh, you want Wet Dreams May Come? Okay, I'll get it for you. And we'd say it quickly, not as clearly as I just made it, so that it was like perverted. And we'd say that to like moms with their kids there and everything. And everyone was like, did I hear him just say that? But since it was back in the day, like there's no record of it. It's like, what? No, I said What Dreams May Come. So I still find myself almost saying What Dreams May Come. So What Dreams May Come. I have to be very careful because it does come out that way. But the movie What Dreams May Come by Robin Williams, I think is one of the, when I say accurate, I mean take like an entire dispenser of salt and pour it all over it, but I think that that is closer to the reality than what most religions try to say. And it's actually based loosely upon certain Platonic, Neoplatonic principles anyway. It's sort of based on those ideas of what happens to the form of the soul after the body has finished being what it is. So what happens to the egregore that you think you are when the body is no longer a suitable place for it to be focused? What happens to that story, right? It continues, but what happens to it? And how long are you going to be consciously aware of it? And if you're consciously aware of it, what is that going to be like? Right? What do you think that's going to be like? And probably the best thing I can tell you is when you went to sleep last night, you were asleep for, probably 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours, however long you're asleep for. Do you have a memory of every single moment of that sleep? No, you don't. Nobody does. In fact, you don't even have memory of every moment of yesterday, let alone every moment of your sleep. But there was a period in your sleep where you have a big emptiness, a place where you don't have any memory of time or anything at all. Does that mean that you were not aware and conscious, though? Well, if you believe that consciousness is maybe the more scientific term of consciousness, which includes thought and mind, which is wrong, which is why they have so much trouble figuring it out. If that's what you think it is, then your consciousness stopped, right? You experience no consciousness. That's not true. Your consciousness never stops. Your awareness never stops. It's just the reflection of the awareness that went away. So while you're asleep, who the hell knows what you're actually experiencing? While you're in that complete deep state of sleep where you have no dreams, you're still usually dreaming. If they put up an EKG to your head, or EEG to your head, they'll see brainwave activity saying, no, this motherfucker's brain is active as fuck. But he doesn't remember any of it. So what's happening? What's happening right now? You are still having a conscious experience even when you're dead ass asleep, but your memory is erased. Just like when you were born, you don't remember what it was like before you were born. You probably don't remember what it's like being born. I don't think there's a single person on earth that remembers being born. That's kind of weird looking. I don't think there's anybody who remembers that.
And if you do, I pray for you.
Right? That's got to be like, whoa, woof.
Yeah.
That's closer to my mother than I'd ever want to ever be again. Oh my God. And considering I got ripped out of her stomach instead of out the right way, that's even weirder. Like, could you imagine? Like, what's that? Like, you ever see like a video where like someone's getting cut out of a tent? Like somebody stabs into the tent and they cut it open. Like, just imagine, like, what the fuck's happening? Oh, getting pulled out by the neck because I think I was yanked out by the neck. Oh, I was a
my
mess.
tube.
Actually, I was so bad. I was removed like a cancer. Like they had to go in and dig me out. I was wrapped all in everything. Like if this was 100 years ago, everybody, at least my mother would have been dead. We probably all would have been dead. And it would have been a total mess and a disaster. The blood was soaking through the mattress. I was wrapped around stuff and like tangled up in her spine and all kinds of, I don't know, it was crazy. I was a removal dude. I wasn't born, I was removed the hard way.
Clutching onto her ribs.
I don't even know if it was either she didn't want to get rid of me or I didn't want to come out. I didn't know which it was. But yeah, so that was a disaster.
I don't want to experience duality. Put me back in. Dimebag Dilly says, I remember dreams from years ago, and I do feel I remember my own birth. Pray for me. Nice. So, but yes, can you remember a time from before you were born? Does that mean you didn't experience it? What exactly experienced it? That's the meaning of the word bornless. If you ever look up, there's people say, do the bornless ritual, and they turn it into this big superstitious mumbo jumbo thing. The real meaning of the term bornless is that you recognize that what you are was never born. Only something that is born can die. So your body will die. Your story may die because it's sort of born out of the events that lead up to it. But your consciousness was never born. It's always been there.
That will never die. So what you're letting go of when you have physical death is not you per se. You're letting go of the memory, perhaps the attachment to the memory. That doesn't mean it stops happening. It doesn't mean you see nothing. It doesn't. You can't have an experience of oblivion, guys. You can't have an experience of nothing. You can have fucking Hellspine. Thank you, DH Thorne, hanging on to the vag like pulling a kid away from a minivan to go to school. No, I won't go. Thank you, Hellspine. I needed that. Like when you're trying to get the kid out of the ball pit at Chuck E. Cheese. That's what it was like.
Oh shit.
No, flinging stuff out. Yeah.
Oh, this.
So when you guys are asking me like, what does King Paimon say? I'm like, what does it mean to not be born? What does it mean to exist? Oh, fuck. King Paimon's like, fuck that dude. Don't be mad, King Paimon. He's not. He knows. But that's like me saying, what does Flesh Priest say? I don't care. Love you, dude. Don't care.
No, I don't care what I think either. You're good.
So it's and by the same token, you shouldn't even care what I'm saying. Like you got to find it yourself. That's the thing. If you guys like what I'm doing, if you think like, wow, he's got all of this, the spirits are so with him. The reason if they're with me is that's why. Is because I don't think of myself as, well, what's the word I would use? I'm not sure how I could describe it. I don't think of myself the same way most people do. And I don't dwell very often.
Would it be fair to say you're not as attached? For as broad as that could be?
You're either attached or you're not. I'm still attached. So there is no, I am not non-attached. I am not unattached. I am not attached. It is that I'm aware.
You're still attached, but it's not like you being born attached. It's like you're not clinging to the ribs still. You're just like, oh, okay, I'm not letting go, but I can take a look out here.
I hesitate to say, because there is no such thing as more or less enlightened. There is enlightenment and no one to be enlightened. There is you get it or you don't, and the one that gets it isn't you. So this is why it's sort of a taboo to say I'm enlightened. It's sort of a taboo to say that. Even though you know you've had the experience of enlightenment, you know you've had that moment, you can't express it that way because that's not rational. It's not actually what it is when you have that. That's not what you're having. It's nothing like what you think it is, right? It's everything I'm describing and nothing like what I'm describing. So if I say I am not attached, I mean maybe to a certain idea. I am not as attached to... See, I can't even say that because the moment I think of like, wow, look at how not attached I am, and I go, you wouldn't be saying that if you were not attached. Right? It immediately just like smacks you in the face, the truth. And if you're being honest, you can't say it. If you ask any Zen monk, are you attached? They're going to be like, yeah, of course I am. If they're being honest with you. The greatest master would tell you, yeah, I'm still attached. Someone who is a Buddha, a true Buddha, so to speak, would say no. They wouldn't even say no. They would say, "What kind of question is that?" They would sound like they're avoiding the question, but actually be answering it. So what I would say is that there are things that I am maybe less attached about. Perhaps there are things that maybe I have like pulled free from a little bit. But there's still certain things I'm very attached about. This last political season was a very strong, obvious example of the things I'm still attached to. The strange reaction I'm having right now to working with spirits and saying fuck them for a little while is another one. There's a reason for it that's definitely part of attachment. If I was truly liberated, would I care? In other words, if I was truly liberated, wouldn't I be like, I can work with spirits or not anytime and not talk about it? No, I'm obviously attached to it somehow. So
but I always like thinking to that, was it a Demon in Review video you did? Maybe not. It was one of them where you talked about suddenly having that moment of feeling like you were becoming unattached and just like, wait, no, I'm not ready to let all of this go. Not ready to let my family and all of
Hmm.
them go. I still want that attachment and coming back down.
So that was the moment where I was listening to Alan Watts while I was working at my job at the nursery, the tree and shrub nursery, and I was watering some bushes.
Ah,
It was the
that would
middle of a
do it.
hot summer day, and I'm sitting there listening to it, and I just two and two went together. Something he said clicked, and I gave myself permission to wake up, I guess. And I had the closest thing to an acid trip without acid. I had the closest thing to a psychedelic trip without taking anything. It was not as vivid as a psychedelic, but it was the closest thing I could describe it would be a non-chemically induced ego dissolution moment where I started to become less and less. You know how I talk about the zoom out and the zoom in about your awareness of your body and parts of it and all that?
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
zooming out away from just me. I had kind of an out of body, but it wasn't like I was out of my body in another body. Like a lot of times when people have an out of body, they pop out and they still have arms and legs and they still feel like maybe they turn into a dragon, but they still have a feeling of self, right? There's still
Yeah.
an there's still a defined
There's
ego.
that focal point where everything is happening around this.
So what happened in this was I felt like I was getting pulled out, but my awareness was less and less localized to an idea of me. And it was more and more feeling a unity with more and more around me until I began to feel and sense more than who I was. And I don't know if what I was sensing was an astral thing. Maybe I was sensing it just in the imaginary way. Doesn't matter. All I know is that my sense of self stopped being about this guy watering a bush. I suddenly became the bush watering itself. I remember that very vividly. That was like the first thought I had as a thought as I was pulling back was, you're not D.H. Thorne watering a bush, you're a bush watering itself. The logic that went into that was something along the lines of, when you're breathing, the trees and the grass are part of your lungs because they're producing, there's like a two-way interaction going on. So they're actually an extension of your respiratory system, if you really think about it. So it was along that kind of thinking. I rationalized myself through that and I said, wait a minute. Does that mean that I'm also and something in me shut up and was like, oh, fuck. And I can't explain it. It was almost like in a good metaphor, a good example, allegory would be like in Doctor Strange when he gets kicked in the chest or slapped in the chest by the whatever her name is, like, and gets knocked out of his body. It was a little bit like that, except nothing hit me and it wasn't quite so personified. It was just it was almost like in a video game, if you're in first person and then the camera pulls back out of you and just keeps going and just keeps zooming out and you become like this. But you're not just in control of your character, you're in control of the bush and the water coming out of the hose and the ants crawling up and down the bushes, and you're becoming more and more aware of everything, but not in a way that I could feel anymore. This is the part that fucks my head up, is that when it was over, what I brought back with me was the allegory, not the experience. I cannot describe for you because I don't remember what it feels like. It's kind of like you got a cup like this, right?
Uh-huh.
If I were to throw the whole ocean at this cup, how much would go in the cup?
About a cup's worth.
Right. So I had caught a whole cup of reality. I mean, we'll say if this cup is my normal state of consciousness, I caught a whole Olympic-sized swimming pool of consciousness for a moment. And actually what it was more like taking my cup and dumping it out into that Olympic-sized swimming pool. And then that's not even the whole thing. That's just a swimming pool. Well, I had that experience of being in that swimming pool. And then what did I do? I was like, no. I'm not ready for this. This is too much. I'm still liking who I am. I still want to see where this story goes. So I took the cup and scooped back up my cup worth of consciousness and came back with it. So what came back with me was just a little tiny, insignificant,
Yeah.
nothing.
You got a couple molecules in there.
I got the memory of having the experience, but I have no idea how to explain it. Have you ever had a dream where you could fly?
Not one that I could fly that I can remember, but not in the like a bird sense, but yeah, I could hover and I could float.
So it was like a mystical supernatural ability in your dream, right? It was like something that was like, was there a method to it? Like, how did it happen? Tell me about it.
Yeah, it's actually a recurring thing, and I don't know why. It's always the same. It's like if I just jump a certain way and lean forward, I can balance a certain way on the air, and I can just use that to float indefinitely. Like 10
I've had
feet
almost
off
the
ground.
exact same. I've had the almost exact same thing, maybe slightly different execution, but the whole feeling of if I shift my balance just right, I'll hit this point where my feet are only barely touching the ground and I'm actually hovering a little bit, and then I can use that to lift off, right? But I can't I can't explain that. Can you explain it in a way that is accurate to what it was like when you were doing it? Can you say that it was exactly this angle and this, that? Can you really get into it? And so you didn't bring it back with you, really. It's not an experience you can have in this world. So you brought back the fact that you did it, but not the actual, like, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah. Okay. That's definitely a way to make me understand what you're saying.
So what you brought back with you was the flavor, I guess, but not the ice cream, right? You can bring back.
I could definitely, like, I remember the feeling, but not the exact execution. I definitely feel like if I went out there, like, maybe I've had this thought a couple times of, maybe I should just try it over the grass or something, except the way I remember holding my body, I would definitely break my teeth if it doesn't work. And I just don't know if I'm willing to take that gamble, but like in the back of my head, sometimes I just walk outside like, if I just jump just right, I can float. Just like
if I were to tell you that somewhere in the ultimate multiverse of the Omniverse, there is a you that did it and succeeded, would that be a problem for your brain?
Hold on, I'm sorry. I was back end stuff. What was the question?
So if I were to tell you that somewhere in the Omniverse, the ultimate megaverse of all universes, where everything can happen, in other words, in the multiverse, we'll keep it simple, somewhere in one of those infinite universes, like in Rick and Morty, there's a version of you who tried it and succeeded. Would that hurt your brain?
Oh, no, not at all. That makes me happy. In fact, I know he succeeded because I was there.
Exactly. When you were dreaming, that was what you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Your consciousness was like, okay, this guy's cool. Let me go float to a different iteration of me and check this out.
I kind of want to be that guy.
There's also iterations of you that you've experienced that are nothing like what you could ever imagine. And maybe that's what you're experiencing when you're in your deepest state of sleep. You might be experiencing things that are quite literally unimaginable and therefore unexperienceable to the human condition. And so what you bring back with you, again, like throwing an ocean at a cup, you bring back the little cup full of what it is, and it's because it's so unknowable, it's just static. Here's another way to put it. Remember what I said before about zooming in on a TV screen?
Mm-hmm.
If you zoom in on a TV screen, it looks not unlike static. There's a pattern to it, but there's no meaning to it. It's useless information. Or another way to put it would be, there's all kinds of images that you can make where we'll say you make it out of static. And if you look too close, it just looks like static. But if you zoom out far enough, oh, look, it's a sailboat. If all you can contain is like a little thimble full of that information, it's going to look like static. But if you could zoom all the way out, you'd be like, oh, actually last night, Thorne, when I was dreaming, I wasn't Flesh Priest, the floating Flesh Priest in my dream. I was actually the Andromeda Galaxy. I was the whole thing. I was all the stars, all the planets, all the black holes. I was all of that. How the fuck are you going to translate that into something that your brain can comprehend? It's just going to be boop static. It's going to be nothing. So what's going to come back to you? Pretty much nothing. You're going to have an experience of zero, of nothing, because
Yeah,
it just doesn't fit.
to tie it back to an earlier point, I've had dreams where it felt like I was the everything, in the sense that my experience was not tied to one form. The moment that I wanted, it didn't even shouldn't even say the moment that I wanted. I just naturally shifted between, I would be a bush and then I would be this person, but this person is not me, and then I would be her, now I would be somebody else. It's kind of just that thing of, it felt like I was everything and nothing, but at the same time I could only maintain the focus on one thing at any given time.
And when did this happen? What was this situation? I was reading some of the chat, so a little piece of what you said got
Oh,
clipped
you
in
were
my.
handling back end stuff.
Yeah, I was being a dick. Yeah, I was.
No,
Well,
no,
I
you're
I
good.
tend to do
I
that for
do
like
that
a
all the time.
second, and I miss like a split second of what you said.
No, I know what it's like. With me handling call-ins and everything, I hear every other word. When was this? I have those dreams occasionally. It's
Oh, okay. So
happened
you
all
were
through my
everything
life.
in. So it was actually not unlike that. So that feeling of being pulled back, I had an everything and nothing moment. The feeling of the void, I guess you could put it. But the part I brought back with me is just this feeble little, like if you said, Thorne, what did it feel like to be a ladybug on a bush? I'm like, I don't know. I have no way of relating to that. I don't know,
Oh,
but I know that I
oh
knew
no,
it
but
at the
this
time.
leaf was pretty rad.
Right? I mean, I know I had the moment, but I couldn't tell you. Like I couldn't tell you what it even looked like. I just, for that briefest of maybe a minute, maybe 30 seconds, as I pulled away. And the irony is, as I pulled out more and more, I actually did become less and less aware of the individualness of each element that I was feeling. It just became a noise. It just became and it was like an all thing. And nothing, that's why I'm saying, like, as I pulled, so the first few moments of it, I was aware of bushness and thornness. I was aware of that. I am that. And I didn't feel there was much of a difference between the two. Right? I was fully aware of me watering, and I was fully aware of the water and the bush, and I can almost bring that back. I can almost rationalize that enough to remember what it, like, I'm not just Thorne watering the bush, I am the bush watering itself. I am literally watering my own lungs. My lungs are watering themselves. Those feelings, those thoughts led to feelings, and then, just like I said with meditation, you get to a point where if you can focus on the tip of your finger and then bring it to your whole finger, then your hand, then your arm, then your whole body, can you go outside of it then? How far can you extend that awareness? How far beyond? Are you limited only to what your senses allow? That's a tough thing to answer, because I don't think you are, but I don't think that your conscious self as a human being can relate to it. So I think what you bring back is that first person perspective of a self and others. So in other words, when I hold an object in my hand, a part of me knows what it feels like to be this ring that's in my hand, and to be my hand, and to be the whole thing at the same time. But my ability to experience it within this bodily experience is a hand and a ring, and I don't feel what this feels because this is dumb and stupid and dead, but this is alive. I can feel this. So I'm feeling the first person perspective of this object, so in a second person way, right? I'm having a second person perspective of the ring. But that's a valid perspective. It's just a perspective, though, right? So yeah.
So I I'm curious. I man, I hate to always be the grounding force, but I couldn't help let go of the image. Cracky, if you're still watching, or somebody, just, I want this commission. I want to see it on your Etsy store. DH. Let's make a t-shirt of you watering the bush,
Oh
and you
shit.
both have a look on both you and the bush have a look on your face, like, and it says, every bush has its thorn.
Oh fuck no. Oh man. I don't know. Maybe if it's
Um,
good enough, I'll Teespring the shit out of it. I don't know. We'll see.
that's the
That's
one, Teespring.
we'll Teespring the shit out of it. We'll see. We'll see. I'll have to enter into an arrangement with Cracky and buy it off him if I'm going to do that. So tell you what, you make
Uh,
it, and if I love it, I'll see. We'll see.
uh,
Knowing that I'm kind of impoverished because of the 2020s that just happened,
I'll do
but
it. I'll do
but
it. I
we'll
want
do
to see it.
it. Come
I
on,
want that
Cracky.
to exist in my reality.
Here, Cracky's
Um,
comments.
so I have some callers lined up.
Good. I
I
was
gotta
just going to
use the
say, do we have them?
yes. I gotta use the bathroom really quick and maybe grab something to drink. 2 minutes, and then we'll do call-ins.
All right, sure. So I'll try to entertain them for a minute or two while you drain the dragon
Yeah, I
and beat the sloth or whatever it is you do
why
down there.
why would you tell that what I'm wearing the right now?
They're not gonna. They're gonna be like, "Are you sponsoring us?" And they're gonna sue my channel.
Oh no, no, they wouldn't. They're too cool for that. Hey, sponsor me though. I yeah, I'll be right. But you should tell them more about the zoom out thing.
No, I'm done with the zoom out.
There's
I'm
there's
actually
a
kind of
there's
feeling
a
like
topic.
I feel like I'm done with non-duality tonight. I think I'm done. I think now I will talk about spirits. In fact, I know you like King Paimon, so I'm going to wait till your pants are down in the bathroom, and then I'm going to start talking
Oh, you
about
you fucker. Okay, I'll be quick then. You
that. I'm
asshole.
kidding. I'm not going to talk about King Paimon. What am I going to talk about, guys? Let's read comments. Let's do comments, guys. Let's do that. Let's do commentos. So let me scroll up a little bit here. I don't know if you guys watch him, but one of my favorite guys to watch live streams for, and they're usually just bullshit where he's reading comments, but it's really fun. I like watching, I've said this before, probably like every stream, I like watching Sleazy P Martini live from the bunker pretty much every Friday or Saturday he does it. And it's like 2 hours of him wearing like the full pompadour fake hair and everything. It's just fucking great. And he just, Sleazy, and he just reads the comments. It's fun. So let's see if we can find something good. So Jeff 524 says, one time I astral traveled while asleep and floated over a black lake on a black planet. Hellspine says just after that, I took 10 tabs once. I became the abyss. Freaked me the fuck out when I came back. You know what's interesting about that? When I was young, one of the only times that I did anything remotely with that kind of stuff, a friend of mine gave me 2 of them. But I have a feeling they were either washed out, like maybe they got wet or something, because pretty much nothing happened. My friend was like, well, either you got a big tolerance or they were just duds. But I always had a joke that because I was a young kid at the time, I was like 13 or something. I had this joke where I think actually it worked. And the last, 40 some odd years of my life have actually just been one hell of a wicked badass trip. And I'm actually laying in the middle of the park where I took them. And most of you people are just the random people in the crowd that are coming by going, what's wrong with this dude? Is he all right? Somebody poke him with a stick. And that's pretty much the inspiration for every weird vision I've had ever since that moment. Let's see. Gingini, what's up, Gingini? $3.99. Dose Trace 99s. Thank you very much for that, Gingini. I believe you were also expressing an interest in some things, so get with me if you need help, if you're going to join up with that. I forgot. I think you emailed me, actually. Yeah, if not, then that's cool, too.
So, I didn't tell you this earlier, but I had a feeling it would be a very magical talk tonight. So I was like, well, I can't compete with Thorne on his own level.
Oh, my God. Stop
Where
it.
where has he not explored that I can get power over him? So I ate the biggest pasta dish for dinner and have just been bloated as all hell tonight. And I think I'm going to up my magical power with a beer because you also can't have that. And because my dumbass forgot a bottle opener, I'm doing this with scissors.
Well, make sure some of it is not directly on camera because they got weird rules about alcohol. You can drink it, but you can't. I forget what the rules are. So,
Nope, not going to be seen.
Yep, no.
I'm just going to drink it from my satanic mug.
That's that a boy right there. I forget what the rules are. Don't worry about it too much.
No,
Nina said something cool. Thank you, Nina. Nina's joining in for the Patreon thing. So, Nina, I'm glad to see that. I look forward to having you in the class. That'll be a lot of fun to have you there with us. Thank you, Nina. Thank you so much. So
You
now
know,
there are 17 slots back by the look of it. Yeah, there's 17 slots total. So if you guys are interested in that classroom thing that I'm doing, that's a good time for it. And it will be, as I said, rerun on an unlisted video link every week when I do it. So you will be able to watch it if you miss it. I may put a rule in. We'll see how it goes if people just stop showing up. Like if people are just like, oh, I can only make it this many days. If it's just me, it's going to be really hard for me to do it. Like I really am good. It's kind of like tap dancing with no audience, right? You just don't do it the same way, right? You're not, well, maybe not. I don't know. I don't tap dance. I'm just kind of assuming. But try performing something alone from start to finish. Almost nobody does it, right? If you're an actor type of person, you'll act out pieces of it and then you'll stop. If you don't have the bookends of other people around, even an audience at least to interact with, to feed off of, you kind of stop. So I'll probably put a statement in there saying if nobody shows up, I'm not doing it. So hopefully people show up. So, but so far there's at least 5 people signed on. Gin Genie, you do not need to purchase the books for the class. No, I will be talking and reading from them, however. So it would be helpful to have one. All right. I don't give them out the way that like you might in a school for 2 reasons. One, if I give you the PDF file, there's not much stopping you from going and trying to pirate it. So I don't generally do that. Someone could pay like $20, get the the DRM free version of it and then share it with the world. Don't want to do that. So that's not to say you can't find it. So I don't love getting my stuff pirated because I'm an independent, creator, but it's out there. If you know where to find it, you can find it.
support independent creators, though.
Right. I would say, like, I'm going to be honest with you. It is out there. If that makes you go, oh, then I'm going to definitely support them. Like I'm going to get it, but then I'm going to buy it. That's fine. I don't mind it. I actually wish Amazon had a more, viable try before you buy when it comes to books. And I know that's not really feasible, but I do wish there was a way to do it that was reasonable, that wasn't just doing a refund, right? Because that actually hurts to get a refund. So I wish there was a way, but
You know what? To throw a little bit of cred your way, if you were to find, as you were saying, if you were to Google and find, as far as I've seen, the top, like, hey, get this free PDF here. If you scroll down a little bit, you will actually see DH had commented on it and was not a bad guy at all with it. Like, hey, yeah, like, I don't know. I'm not going to talk about the entire conversation, but like, I know you got at least one fan out of that. Your response to things like, yeah, okay, yeah, this is a reasonable guy.
What am I supposed to do? It's going to happen anyway. I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like when people brag about it. Oh, I stole it. I had this one kid. He was a young kid, and he brags to me that he was going to find it and download it. I'm like, dude, you're talking to the guy. You're literally yanking the money out of my fucking hand that I'm using to pay for my bills with, dude. That'd be like me coming to your house and yanking stuff out of your fucking possessions and just saying, ha ha. So please don't tell me about it, right? Or if you do, be like, I got it, but then I bought it all. Like, okay, like at least give me that, like, blow my ego up that way at least, if you're going to do it. Because it does hurt. I'm not Sony, right? I'm not, the music industry. I'm not like, oh, look at the millions I make off concerts and everything. No, this is like if you look at my revenue streams, I'm all over the place, $100 here, $200 there. And I end up with about minimum wage, right? So am I complaining? Not at all. I think it's great. I love doing this, but that does mean that it's like, oh man, please don't steal from me, dude. I don't appreciate it. I'm not going to curse you for it either, but it's not cool. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I've sailed the 7 seas many a times. We'll just put it that way. Yar! Like I'm not opposed to it. It's just I try not to do it unless it's really like, and if I do, it's with an intention to purchase. So that's how I rationalize it.
Okay, just before we get into the first caller, you just reminded me of a really funny joke that you're gonna love. What is a pirate's favorite letter?
You know what? I'll have to look it up in the dictionary.
Are you saying R? You might think that, but a true pirate's first love is the sea.
Ah, yes, I remember that joke. I'm never going to remember it in time to actually get it before you say it. But you've said it enough times that you'd think I'd remember it. Especially when we were playing Sea of Thieves. I think that was the first time I heard it, was we were playing Sea of Thieves and you blasted that. By the way, guys, Sea of Thieves, fun game if you like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Preferably with a 2-man boat, but we've had a few good sessions on that game. We've definitely had some fun. I think that game is more fun when you suck at it and you're not trying and you're just going out to do whatever. The moment you start feeling like you know what to do, it starts getting like too competitive in your head and you're like, I must kill that other ship, but then you think too like by the book and you get killed.
Yeah.
It's not as
Hell,
fun.
if you play, hit me up.
Yeah.
The flesh
Like, I'll
priest.
play that again. I'll play that again for
Yeah.
sure. Like, I'm kind of burnt out on it right now, but I'll play it again.
So I got the first caller sitting here in the Discord call-in thing.
So do I have to, you know what? I'm going to blink out everybody but you. So that this way, in case they're naked and there's somebody that's been on before.
You know what? I was trying to think of that because we've definitely talked to them before. But I don't think they've ever actually been on the show.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it EA? No.
Yeah, he's never been on the show.
He's never been on here. All right. Well, lay it on me, brother. Let's see who it is.
Well, you got to join too.
Oh, doing what? No, I'm done channeling spirit. I'm done. Oh, it's on Discord. Oh, my goodness. Making me click.
My bad.
buttons.
I thought I said that.
You did, and I'm just idiotic. Let me don't switch audio here. Hopefully I'll hear them because I'm not switching my audio.
Hey, dude. DH is not here yet. Just one moment.
Just everybody be quiet because I got to fix this because it's all coming through the wrong things.
Uh-oh.
Hold on. Yeah, it's coming through my actual speakers, so it's going to be like echo, 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 echo. Speakers now. I want it coming through. You know the thing I said I didn't want it to switch to? That's what I want it to switch to.
It's exactly what happened.
All right, person who I won't name until you introduce yourself, just be like, perfect, I hear you. I hear you, my friend, and I think everyone else does too.
I don't know if I want him to introduce himself. I want to introduce him.
Well, he is an esteemed member of honor at this point because he's the first one to be inducted into a higher level on the Discord.
Right. Yes, everybody who's in the Discord is probably very familiar. Please welcome the great and powerful Dr. Eddie.
Hello.
You may now speak, Eddie. Oh, hello, Eddie.
I was just asking DH about this. I don't think you've ever actually been on a live stream. We've definitely hung out with you, but never on stream.
I have not. This is my YouTube premiere.
Oh my gosh. Are you okay with 45 concurrent people watching? It's not the usual 60 or 70, but it is a whole 45 people are now listening to the sound of your voice, criticizing every nuance of everything that you say.
No
How
pressure.
does that feel? No pressure.
I'm freaking out, man.
It's a really
Sorry,
big
it's
elevator
okay.
full of people. It's a really big elevator full of people. It's not that bad. We can do this.
Yeah, no. I actually had to take a class on preaching, so this is fine.
You know, that's what I need to do, actually. Maybe you could advise me on this. I think what I want to do next, as this thing moves forward, I think I want to, because I do already have a minister's license. I think I got to get a better one that's like maybe go to like this other, like my friend turned me on to this one where you can get like a PhD in spirituality and shit. I'm going to do all that shit and get those like diplomas and hang them all over. And then I'm going to open my own church of whatever this is. Like, what do you think? Should we do that? Would that be fun?
Well, that's what I did. Church of the Subgenius, $35. You get your ordination and doctorate in the forbidden sciences.
I think it wasn't. I think it might have been that one. I'll have to look it up. My friend turned me onto it. I forgot it already. That's how I am. I forget things. Brain like a sieve, I tell you.
Yeah, it needs pokes every now and then.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, do you remember the thing?
You know what it is? If the details are small enough, they just go. Actually, I'm like the opposite though. Like I remember these other details that like people wouldn't remember. it's the stupid things like, oh, I don't know, the person's name that I forget. Like I'll remember like, oh, they had a zit on their face at the time. Like, oh, I remember that. But no, I don't remember their name. Like we're watching The Expanse right now, and I still barely remember anybody's name. I'm like Holden, I remember that. Fuck, I don't know half the people's names in that show. And I'm up to season 5. I'm like, I don't know who. They're just cool. I like them. Ava Sarala is like my favorite.
Yep.
At least she was. She was my favorite for a long time. Probably my favorite character. Like she got a little boring the last season, but cool character.
Yeah, I like her when she's not secretary. Well, I won't say it.
Yeah, don't give it away.
When
Don't give it away.
she's, yeah, when she's able to cut loose a little bit more, she's a lot more fun.
The first 3 seasons was great with her. The last 2 were kind of, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. First 2 seasons were amazing. She was really cool. But yeah, so what's it like, man? How you doing? Like, tell us a little bit about a couple of things. One, what's it like being a moderator of our Discord, which is kind of like its own entity now. It's kind of just become like I'm just a member of that chat. It's not even my Discord. It's like we're all just there, and like it's just a place now. So what's it like? Like I never see you have to do anything, so it must be an easy job. Like you don't have to. You've never had to ban, kick, or boot anybody, right?
No, well, and that's the thing is I see the welcomes and like I right click on the thing. It's like, well, I can't assign a role to them, so
we didn't give
right,
him that
I guess
power.
I'll have to fix that then.
I thought we gave you powers. Okay.
Well, I can kick. I see a kick option now, but I don't see I can only kill. I cannot bring to life.
I do think it's funny because nobody used @teacher until you came around, and now everybody's like, yeah, we want to approach Eddie. We don't want to approach that flesh priest guy.
We should just
We don't
rename
want to
that
tag
like
admin.
we should rename that to like Eddie's minions or something. Eddie and his minions, like Eddie's thing.
Well, when you do start your own cult, the secret is, guys, easy to launder robes.
And preferably not white, because man, does that red grape juice come out really difficultly on red. That's why you wear black. Black or red robes. There's a reason.
Plus, like white is just a dead giveaway.
Stay away from the velvet. Just saying.
You know,
Oh,
I've
but it
got
feels
this
so
thing
nice.
actually. This is actually like a weird. I made this sort of. I like to mod things. I don't make things very well. I bought from Museum Replicas. They had a mad scientist lab coat, but it's like that old-fashioned, like doctor from like the Victorian era. So it's like a vest that like you button up the side, and it's like a long waist. It's
yeah.
like, it goes all the way down to my knees. So you know what I did? I'm like, I don't like this with sleeves, so I cut the sleeves off. And so now it looks like this badass fucking robe with like the monk lapel and everything. I'm like, no, I like this now. This is cool. So, but it's made out of like this, I'm not going to say velvet. I don't know what it is. I don't think I'm supposed to wash it though. I'm pretty sure if I look at it, it's going to say like what's that other thing besides washing? See what I mean? Yeah, dry cleaning. See, that's what I'm talking about. The little details. I remember it's there. I just don't know what it's called. So that's
You have
that's
a
what I
strange
got.
sieve, brother.
Dude, it's, you know what? Maybe let's call it a sieve with like shapes, right? So that like certain things just slide right through, but other things don't. Like it's polarized. It's a polarized sieve. So only certain things go through. Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I would totally rock a cassock if I thought I could pull it off, but like Neo in the Matrix.
Oh, fuck yeah. I would be right there with you with the fucking glasses with no edge to them and everything.
I'm back ending right now here. Hold on.
Oh, so much back-end talk tonight.
Well,
So,
we've got people
lot of
chatting away, but
back-end.
some people are writing like one little word things, and I don't know. Like I want to make sure people are behaving. So if you guys are in the chat, like try to make sure you like talk in complete sentences. I don't like when people spam it with like blah 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 blah. So yeah, I'm gonna probably. I'm not even sure. Like spooky wagons, I'm not even sure what you're saying, bro. Like yeah, spooky. I think Spooky's saying Flesh Priest looks like he's high on up. Spooky, please. Oh, what do you have? Like the little thing you're talking to a friend. All right. Maybe do that. I'm not trying to be a dick. It's just this. It just turns into the Spooky Wagons chat channel. So, Yeah, if you wouldn't mind maybe having that conversation elsewhere, bro, like just nicely. I'm not mad. Hellspine
I'm
says,
sorry, Eddie. This is
I think
suddenly
it's
like,
Hellspine's friend, right? Oh,
mommy
it's
and
no, it's
daddy are
cool.
having a
I'm not mad,
discussion.
guys. Yeah, I'm not mad, guys. I think
You're
that's
good.
Hellspine. Hellspine and Spooky are buddies, so I think they're just talking to each other. So I'm gonna just do me a favor, like let's keep it to let the other people talk. That's all. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, or bring it to Discord. Why don't you guys in the Discord and fucking talk in Discord? That way you can do that. Like then you can just do all that shit. So that would be really helpful. Don't worry about it, Hellspine. Don't worry about it. Just both of you guys move it to Discord because I think you're both. I know you're on there, Hellspine. I don't know if Spooky is.
Oh yeah, Hellspine's on there.
They're gonna take it to telepathy. There you go. I think it's called telephony, is what they call it when it's internet stuff. Telephony is what the word. Anyway,
Yeah.
so Eddie, we got through the first part of your question. The first part of what it's like to be a mod at the Discord channel that we have. Tell us then a little bit about you and your magic. Let's do that next.
And I'm gonna add
Uh,
addendum onto that question because I know you've actually been doing your own, not commissions. I'm losing the word right now. You've actually been doing magic for other people too recently. I'm kind of curious how that's been going for you.
I'll answer that one first because it's quicker. I finally have my first client who's asking for something other than get me back with my ex.
Oh, that's the
So,
worst hurdle, man.
achievement.
And it keeps coming back. It keeps coming back.
So this one's money. So I'm gonna evoke Clown X.
Okay.
And I'm out, and it's in that weird sort of thing where, when I know I'm going to be evoking a particular spirit, and I usually do it on Saturday, for whatever reason, and I'm kind of in that pre-gnosis phase where like Clown X tapping me in the back of the brain, like, dude, you know. But Clown X, the interesting thing with him is that when you evoke him the first time, he basically block and evaluates you like a slave,
Mm-hmm.
and is supposed to
No, it's
give
true
you a
because
really
that's like his archetype is like a slave trader in a lot of ways. A lot of
Yep.
people have identified him as possibly a slave trader in the past. Yeah, keep going.
yeah, and I sort of got that treatment last night, and it was odd. But yeah, no, the my magical path. Geez, you got like a couple of days.
Yeah, you've walked a very crooked path, it seems. You've
Yeah.
done a little bit of a whole bunch of different things, it seems.
Yeah. Always been what they used to call a seeker. Grew up in a nominally Christian house, but then got really serious about it. In my late teens, went to seminary for a couple of years, and then sort of wandered away, played with some Zen Buddhism in there, played with some free market, free zone Scientology stuff, and ran into
Forgive us
Crowley
for insulting
for the
your
first
gods.
time in yes. uh, but then basically when I turned 40, so 5 years ago, and the wheels fell
The
off
Saturn
again because of
returns.
the continual depression and anxiety I've had since I was a little kid. I basically just said fuck it and tried chaos magic, and I said I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to be that guy who like goes into a paradigm and like goes down a path, because I'm chaos magician. I know what this stuff really is, and it's bullshit, but it's bullshit that works. And yeah, I've been basically a Lilith devotee and down the left-hand path for a couple of years now.
Let's talk about that a minute, because I think with chaos and chaos magic, level 1 is to make the declaration, I will have no dogma. Level 2 is like, oh, I can play with dogmas. And level 3 is the dogmas are of little meaning to me, and therefore I can devote to one. It's a weird thing that will happen. It's sort of like saying, it's sort of like saying I will not submit to a god, but I will work the fuck with a god, right? I will just like that is the one I like, and that's the so. I don't think you're being dogmatic necessarily, not necessarily, unless so
No.
dogmatism means like doctrinalism, right? It's kind of the same thing. Dogmatism means you suddenly believe that the limiting truth of like Yahweh versus, you know, one of the reasons I like Vedanta and Advaita Vedanta is because it's less limiting. It's not a limiting dogma. It is literally it's not telling you how things should be. It is simply a reflection of things that are experienced. So it is more open to everything. It's a weird paradoxical dogma because it doesn't define things, right? It doesn't limit you. It puts you in a position of removing dogma so you can experience. I think chaos magic tells you no to not give into dogmatic thinking, because when you're delving into magic, you learn very early on that magic is pretty much always sourced in religion somewhere in some point in history. Like most of the magic we do was once a part in some way, I'm not going to say every, but most is a part in some way of a religion somewhere. You've got to invoke a god, you've got to call upon a saint, you've got to speak a prayer, you've got to do this and that. It's pretty much a form, it's almost like religion, but it's not. Because religion, I actually put religion below magic. Like I believe metaphysics, magic, religion, superstition, like in that order. But a lot of the magical practices are learned through religious orders, and they're a product of like religious practice. So like we'll say Kabbalah, right? You know a lot about at least the Qliphoth and all that, I think, if I remember correctly. So a lot of that a lot of that stems from that pantheistic Yahweh cult, right? That Yahweh Elohim cult.
Mm-hmm.
And without that, you kind of have a little bit of like, so can you work with the Sephira or the Qliphoth? Can you work with that without embracing that Yahweh spirit somewhere? Like it may not be the one that the Christians talk about, but at least, you know, if you go to a rabbi, right? If you talk to a rabbi about what that means, what the Kabbalah means and all that, it's actually less dogmatic sounding, isn't it? Like, have you ever spoken to a legitimate rabbi about those things? Have you ever had the pleasure?
Well, no, they won't talk to me.
They won't talk to you.
Because I'm not.
Or have you seen interviews on the subject?
I'm
Maybe
not.
That's another one.
Yes, I'm not Jewish, Orthodox, and over 40. Well, I am over 40, but
right, they might talk to you about it.
The interesting is theological definition of a dogma is something that must be accepted as true simply because the church says it is.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's the main definition of being dogmatic about something. It's well, why are you doing your evocations this way? It's like, well, because the lesser key says I have to do it, and if I don't do it that way, then demons are going to ass rape me. Well,
right.
That's. But the interesting thing about chaos magic or chaos magicians that I've observed is that there's kind of two categories of them. There's people who start with chaos magic, and it's a great place to start because it's that kind of no model or no paradigm.
Sure. It's that Bruce Lee way. It's like a very Bruce Lee style of magic. Yeah.
Yes, it's very beginner's mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it sort of forces you to keep that ideal of beginner's mind.
Which is actually a very Zen thing. It's actually a very Zen thing too.
Right. But most of them, including myself, tend to then settle down into a quote-unquote home paradigm that we work within. But even then, within that paradigm, we're still very eclectic. I strip shit down to the bare essentials all the time. And on the flip side, then what you have is you have a lot of people who start with something else and maybe a lot of other something else's, and then they end up in chaos magic. And those are the ones who typically stick with it for a long time. And then you occasionally have people who kind of go in and out and then back again, and you know, they're usually half crazy. So, but like Genesis Breyer Peorage is very much that latter category.
Oh,
Or-
Peorage.
yeah, definitely started out. Although, um, what they came up through was pretty chaotic.
I think Discord is roboting
I
him a little bit.
I
You
think
got
so.
roboting? Yeah, I think he's roboting. He's talking and it's like.
right. Hold on a second here.
Yeah,
Let me,
sorry, dude.
It's not. It's probably nothing to do with you. It's probably just the bandwidth between us.
Yeah, I saw my ping. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're fine right now.
Okay, good. Yeah, my ping was getting pretty low there for a second.
So, but yeah, you were saying the. I lost it because of the robotics thing. I'm kind of like, bring us back to the train of thought, Flesh.
About the different types of chaos magicians.
Yeah,
and the
that was
ones
one of
that
them.
yeah, the ones who stick with it are ones who stick with it long term are not the ones who start with it. I believe is
Because
what
like
you were
most people
saying.
start with Spare, right? Most people start with Spare, the artist who did magic, and they start there, and he's got some
Yeah.
great philosophy on it. But is that the end all be all? Right? No.
No, and Spare's core technique is literally like in the IoT is the thing you have to learn to get admitted to the IoT, right? So Spare's method of sigilization is literally the introduction to chaos magic, and that's an approach I take. One of my clients is starting to sort of learn on his own, which I really like seeing. But I like starting with sigil magic, right? Because for two reasons. First of all, there's a lot of people for whom magic will never be anything other than get shit, right?
Right.
And if all you want to do is get shit, sigil magic is a really simple, easy way. One sheet of instructions. I can teach you how to get all the shit you want to get. And if that's enough for them, great. More power to you. I'll see you next time around when you're ready for, the deeper stuff. But the other reason, because all magic is sigil magic. It's just the sigils get more complicated.
And are
right?
made out of different mediums. Yeah, I've definitely alluded
Exactly.
to some of that. Yeah, like I say, when I do a ritual for somebody, I hope you do the same thing. By the way, if you're going to start doing work for people, my recommendation is to try to do it the way I do. Videotape it and send them the whole ritual. I think it's, and maybe you'll feel different, but I don't like sending people just like a photograph of it done. I don't like sending people just a written description. I want them to see me performing it, because I feel like when I'm doing that, what I'm actually doing doesn't do it. Like I've kind of detached myself from their outcome. So when I do the ritual, I'm kind of like putting the ball on the tee in such a way that they can't help but hit it, so long as they actually watch the video. And the video itself is a live sigil, if you will. And by watching it, participating in it in a conscious way, it's their own self that manifests, which is really the only way magic works, in my opinion, anyway. Is it's manifestation being a synonym for experience in a lot of ways. So I don't know if you agree with that, but I hope you try it. I hope you try both then and see which one you like.
I'm not videotaping right now. I'm not really set up for it, but want to do that. But what I do now is I like take pictures and message them sort of through the ritual as I'm doing it, as evidence that I am in fact doing it. But I also assign homework.
Okay.
While I'm doing my thing,
They've
I'm
got to
typically
do something.
giving them
Mm-hmm.
a video with the N and the sigil, and it's like, okay, just run this on a loop and get loose and get into that sort of meditative space. And because what I'm telling people is I don't even necessarily care what the result is that you want. What I'm doing is making an introduction between you and the spirit, and what happens from there is between you two. Mostly working within a spiritual paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of like a matchmaker.
Yeah, I mean that's
Right.
actually a very safe way to do this, and I'll tell you why. Two reasons. Spirits are excellent excuses. That is to say, it's a lot easier for the subconscious, even a very rational, skeptical one, to accept that there's an invisible, spooky being somewhere in the universe that is listening to your prayer and will do the unthinkably impossible for you if only you give it the chance. Even a skeptic can do that. Most skeptics can make that leap, even though they don't like to say it. I think it's easier. And if it doesn't work, then they get to blame it on the spirit. And if it does work, they get to blame it on the spirit. And so the stress is off of them to perform. This is why I've often said, start with, as much as I keep telling you guys that the goal is metaphysics, understanding the deeper picture. You do got to start. I think it's a really good place to start, is to start working ritualistically with spirits. I think that's a great way to start. It's also maybe built into our culture because most people come from a Christian background. It's a lot easier for people who come from a Christian background to go, well, I was praying to Jesus. Let me try praying to King Paimon. And that
Right.
that little leap is easier for people.
Right. And so my general view of spirits is similar to yours, but a little different. There's the quote unquote real thing, whatever that is. But it communicates to us through the means of symbolism that's sort of, some of it's practically hard-coded into our brains, some of it's cultural, some of it's individual. So that's why, I can evoke Asmodee, you can evoke Asmodee, and we'll have very different experiences, yet often the content, like the real meaningful content of our experience will be the same.
That's
We're
kind of
both
the
getting
definition
same
of validation, right? In this kind of work, so there's a lot said about unverified personal gnosis. And yes, I agree. I'm just not, don't mean to cut you off too much, but I was going to just say that is the validation. It's not he had blue eyes, right? Though sometimes it is, but generally it's not those details that is the validation. It is the, how do I put this? Since you are in the spare stuff, you are into that, you understand. So spare, I have to go on so many tangents just to get to what I'm trying to say. Spare is actually a bit of a cheater. All right. Spare actually took a combination of different philosophies and threw them together and threw them against the wall and created this idea, which is actually a good synthesis and distillation of several older ideas. So the first one, or one of the most obvious ones, being taking runes and making rune staves, right? But the other one is Platonic forms. It's the idea of Platonic forms, and this idea that there's an essence behind symbolism that is perfect or unique or necessary. So if I were to hold up this, what does this symbolize to pretty much everybody? Like, what are the symbols that it symbolizes?
Fire.
Fire, right? Other things too, but most people, the first place they're going to go is fire. So what I'm saying is like, the symbols would be, if King Paimon came to both of us, and to you he came with a flame billowing out of his hand and says, take this flame and ignite the world with it. And if he came to me and said, take this lighter and, whatever, right? The fact that I saw a lighter and you saw a flame isn't that important. The fact is we both saw an ignition, right? The symbol of ignition, that. So I'm sorry to go so far, but I just want to illustrate that for everybody a little bit. Like, that is the validation. It's not that.
Yes.
Right. That's the validation. And that's the deeper part of the mystery. So go ahead.
But part of it too is, so demonic spirits, darker spirits, however you want to define that. A lot of the symbolism that they latch on to is going to be out of that own person's shadow. So, an example of evoking Clowneck is, okay, I'm going to put you in contact with this spirit. You can talk to him, come to whatever terms you want to come to. I don't know how you're going to do it, but, come to a deal. But at the same time, this spirit is going to challenge you on unexamined beliefs that you have about money or love or whatever. And and that's something I've experienced a lot is Lilith or Asmodeus or Samael or whoever just grabbing me by the scruff of my neck and being like, listen, before we get to the thing we're actually here to do, you've got some really toxic attitudes about XYZ that we need to deal with. And by evoking a spirit in that way, it's sort of a way of like, yeah, you'll get your money, but you're also going to get some shadow work in out of this.
Sure. No, undeniably accurate. That's pretty much like every ritual I do. This is why I require consult first, and I do them more as an offering rather than a request basis. So if people say I need a ritual, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna do a consult first, and we'll see. And a lot of that is me just doing what I do with the whatever it is gift I have to laser my way through people's defenses and figure them out. So I read them, I figure out what their shadows are, I figure out what their higher voice is telling me. What are they really telling me they need? And if it is a ritual, in my mind, the ritual is an excuse. So magic ritual to me is a lot more like, and I've said this a million fucking times, is a lot more like anti-constipation medicine. Like it's literally a laxative for your magical spiritual intention, right? It doesn't actually do the thing. It is a way for you to release whatever blockage is stopping you from doing the thing. Whether that's directly by
enema.
Yeah, it's a soul enema. Yeah, it's literally a soul enema. And it's not that it's necessarily, I'm not saying it's that skeptical that magic does nothing, or that it's not just self-help. You will do spells and weird shit will happen in your environment that you just can't explain. There's no question. It's just don't look for that. Let the magic work however it works. If it means that you've got to change, then you've got to change. If it means your boss has to change, your boss will change. Whatever it is, the idea is the magic ritual is how you let go of whatever attachment bullshit is keeping you from doing it. Because ultimately, and again, this goes back to my philosophy, you're not causing anything, you're choosing an experience to come to next. It's not even choosing, this is where we get caught up in language, trying to explain the flow of consciousness through reality. I've got to go that deep, because if you don't understand that, it will only ever be abracadabra, bibbidi bobbidi boo to you, right? If you don't understand that abracadabra is symbolic and bibbidi bobbidi boo is probably just as equal in a modern person's mind, because we both we don't recognize abracadabra had a very powerful original meaning, like, according to where it came from. A lot of people hear abracadabra and think it's basically bibbidi bobbidi boo. Both are a magical phrase to modern kids today. If you go to a kid today and say, all you got to do is say abracadabra over this sigil and it'll work, it probably will work pretty good for them. You could also say bibbidi bobbidi boo, or so mote it be, or do the armpit fart and it'll work. It sounds goofy, but it's true, I think, in my experience.
Yeah, one of the things I used to talk about on Reddit an awful lot is what I call the 3 stages of wisdom. And the first one is recognizing that the thing in front of you is, in fact, bullshit. And the second one is recognizing that so is everything else. Everything else. And then the third is recognizing that some bullshit is at least useful.
Very good. Yeah, I remember I did a video or a statement somewhere, and I came out and I think I heard the air get sucked out of the room, because I made the bold statement that everything I do is bullshit. But then I explained what I meant. And, it goes back to the word maya, really. Another good way to describe maya is bullshit. That's actually not bad. If we're gonna do it, if we're gonna do it in our base profane way of talking that we often use here, maya could be very loosely translated to mean bullshit, because quite literally, So everything we do is bullshit.
If you see the Buddha on the side of the road, say bullshit.
Kill his ass. Yeah, basically. Or the other interpretation of that is the Buddha is a shit stick. The Buddha's toilet paper, basically. So this has been one of the bigger parts of my message since I came out. Everyone wants to know, what's the spell? Can you give me a spell to get my ex back? Oh, shut up. I hate you. Die. I don't want to help you.
The spell is within you.
Oh, I hate being that guy. You know?
The magic was inside you all along.
Magic. It's so magical.
G.I. Joe.
This is spiritual, guys. Yeah, it is that way. And it's frustrating because I want to, maybe I'm just that prideful and arrogant. I want to go up to the top of the mountain in my temple with a bunch of people around like you, Eddie, and we're all sitting around fucking having this conversation and really exploring that depth. Not, what if King Paimon like is his favorite offering? No offense to those of you who are still at that stage, but man, come on. Like, we could do better than that. Like, we could do so much better than that. And you know, how do we get there though? Like you said, the stages of wisdom. First, you got to be that guy. We were all that guy once. I was that guy for a little while when I was younger.
Oh yeah.
You know, we were all that guy or that gal. We were all that person, you know. Arachnos, by the power of Grayskull, is one of the most powerful invocations you can ever fucking do. Fucking prove me wrong. You know, Pixar GTFO. Fuck that shit. Absolutely agree. By the power of Grayskull, for sure.
I think what you were saying about the you know, what's King Paimon's favorite offering? It really takes me back to like high school, you know, where like somebody would have a crush on Denver, but like they were too embarrassed to go talk to Denver, so it was like, well, what does Denver like? What do you talk with him about? Like, you're the one trying to jump his bones. Go fucking talk to him yourself. Like, go. It's not gonna happen through me. Go get the experience. Go do it. I believe in you.
Spooky Wagon, trust me, you're not in trouble. It was a good comment. Separate from egregore and see things in essence as they are. See behind the egregore and find the true form that it is. And recognize that that form is just a division of truth, right? It's like, here's an analogy for form, if you want to understand how I understand the concept of form. Let's say non-duality as a concept is the number pi. It is a number that contains everything and nothing, all possible states, all possible programs, you know, all possible logic, all possible number sequences are supposedly, because we believe it's infinite, stored within the true number of pi. An egregore would be like a big sequence of numbers that's like all this big shit and blah, blah, blah. The form would be the simpler little pieces of that. It would be like, so, you know, a squared times b squared equals c squared. So that whole formula is like the egregore. The actual form is the a and the squared and the b and the squared and the c and the squared. So this is why, like, when we're talking about a spirit like King Paimon or Lucifer or something, I'm always on a quest to identify the archetypal core truth of it. I usually use the word archetype because so much of spirit work is about human conscious archetypes. That's usually how it is. And most, you know, human beings are limited to the forms human beings can understand. If I ask you what a glarbal flap is from the planet Flufla, I don't even know what that is. So what is that? I don't know. We don't have a form for that until we experience it. I don't know, Eddie, have you ever heard this story? I don't know how true it is, but there's a story that goes around about how the Aboriginal Americans, when the Westerners first arrived with their ships, they didn't see ships. They saw islands with trees on them that were dead, and they saw them differently. Like, they couldn't explain them, so the way they described them was like completely weird. And then after a few days, they began to understand they weren't that, and they started to see them as boats, like their own boats. Have you ever heard that story before?
I have heard that story. I don't know if it's true or not, but I like it, so I'm going to tell it.
I think it's pretty accurate. I don't know if it's actually true, but I think that's pretty accurate, because I think if we are all really honest and can really just sit for a moment and think about it, if you go back to a time when you first experienced something that was unusual, have you ever had a moment where you saw something? In fact, this can happen to you now. Like, if you look at an animal that's wearing camouflage, right? An animal is camouflaged. It can look like something weird, and you'll think it's something else, but you'll have to, after you take a moment, you'll see what it really is, right? So camouflage works
yeah,
by a
yeah,
similar principle, right? Camouflage is but this can happen with things that aren't camouflage. It's kind of like that camouflage animal. When you see the snake in the grass, you can't help but see the snake. It's like bang, snake. There it is. It's always there. It's bang. I always see it now. So in a very similar way, egregores work like this. In a very similar way, forms work like this. As we observe reality and we name it. So what is the true meaning in the Bible where it says that Adam names everything? That's the deeper hidden message in Genesis. That's one of them. Is mankind, upon achieving this sentient state of mind, began to divide reality into concepts and forms, and in so doing, gave them their true name. Their true name, not a verbal name. Like there isn't a name there isn't a language that's higher, right? That's the in grimoires, there's things called blinds, right? So when you hear about, I guess it started in Egyptian lore, that everything's got a true name. The idea that it's got a name, quote unquote, that's kind of like a blind. It's an unintentional one, but it's kind of like a blind. When we say name, we don't mean a literary name. I don't mean a linguistic name. That's not to say that the sonic vibrations mean nothing. I'm not saying that. But to say that like cantaloupe is its true name is stupid. Or Nilia is its true name, like some random, glossolalia is its true name. No. Its true name is something that is beyond vocalization. It is something that literally means its true form, its true eidetic form, its true mimetic form is what it's talking about. So what is the true form of... Go ahead.
The word cantaloupe is a sigil for cantaloupeness.
Yes, very good, very good, exactly. This is why I like Eddie. This is why I made him a mod. I don't have to teach him anything.
That sounds like either one of the most profound or most high thoughts ever.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like what I've been doing in much bigger language.
Little column B.
Yeah, he just went right to exactly what it means. I'm always dancing around it, but that's a direct way of putting it.
Yeah, no,
that's a good way.
And for the record, I 100% believe what you're saying, but at the same I agree, but at the same time, that sounds like something I could see, one of my buddies back in high school high off his ass saying to me.
Hey, those high people are often more right. Those high people can surprise you with how right they are sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, for real. So no, that's a perfect way to put it. So a sigil, my only issue with sigils is they're like glossolalia for the eyes. They're a way to gobbledygook up something, but still have some kind of meaning. I'm not saying I shouldn't say I have a problem with it, because I don't. I use sigils all the time. You know that. And one of the things I developed, and I shouldn't even say developed. I don't think I'm the only one to develop it. I'm just the first one to put it in a book, I guess. The idea of creating your own magical language, magical sigils for your alphabet. The idea behind that is to simplify out. Let's say you want to make a talisman. Now, I know making a sigil is easy, don't get me wrong. But look, you and I both know when you look at someone's sigil work, most beginners, it just looks like they took the alphabet and threw it at the page and stirred it up like alphabet soup, and that's their sigil.
Yep.
My problem with that is that your conscious mind is still too able to identify what the fuck you're looking at. So I like taking sigils and then going, okay, that made a shape. Now I'll turn that shape into a sigil. The problem is, as you may have noticed, I have quite a linguistic mind. So when I look at a sigil that looks too much like letters, I have a hard time turning it into anything else. So what I did was I took it to the next level and I said, let me turn letters into something I don't recognize. Let me create letters that have the vibe of the letter, that feel like they mean something, that look like a Lovecraftian alien language. And then let me use those. My subconscious mind is perfectly aware of what they mean, because your subconscious mind doesn't have the same analytical limits that your left brain does. So when I look at the sigil script, I go, look, it's a whole bunch of random shapes, and I only vaguely recognize a few of them. I usually recommend that you have one letter that's an anchor letter. This way, it just makes it easy. Like there's a place for your conscious mind to say, that's a letter. But after that, all the rest should be gobbled. Like like if you open my book, Become the Maelstrom, to the creating sigil script stuff, don't memorize that. Don't try to read it. Don't use it as just a substitution method that you learn to read. The idea is to use that as a way to create an extra layer of confusion for your left brain. So in Sigilcraft, Eddie, using the numeric squares, right? That's the way it's often done, right? We use like what Saturn is like an obvious one. It usually makes the simplistic ones. And like, what's the most complicated? The sun, the square of the sun. So you take those and you can make your sigils out of that. My problem with that is they always look like just a bunch of elbows, right? And so I go,
Yep.
It doesn't work for me, right? Then I look at other people's sigils and it looks like just tribal art, like they're making tribal tattoos. And I don't love that either. So give us your lesson, if you don't mind, briefly, after I did all that talking. Give us what is your opinion about sigil making in that sense? Do you think that any of them work? Do you think it matters? Do you think there's a better way? What is your opinion on that?
Well, I'm not particularly visual for whatever reason. I was doing sigil magic, and this is a recommendation I have for anybody who wants to get started with this. Make your first few sigils something that you don't have a lot of emotional investment in.
Yes.
Oh, hell
Right.
yeah.
So for me, it was, and I got this out of Andre Vitamus's book, Hands-on Chaos Magic. Is I will see a woman wearing red shoes by the end of the day. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
So for me, the first time I got it to work, was more of a almost like trying to build in my mind the platonic red shoes, you know, and not just in the sense of, okay, it's just the platonic ideal red shoes, but a complete visualization of, okay, so if this works, what is that effect going to be on me emotionally, physically? What am I going to feel when this happens? What am I going to see? What am I going to hear? You know, what's my visceral reaction going to be? And once I
You were
started
quite
had that
literally
all,
you were quite literally collecting. So if I can cut you off, in my realm of metaphysics, what you were literally doing is you were consciously, like mentally consciously, seeking out a dimension of reality. In other words, one of the verses in the multiverse, one of the Rick and Morty layers, right? You were seeking out one in which that existed, and you were trying to connect a gateway, a paradigm gate between your conscious moment in when you're making the sigil and the experience, so that it's more familiar, so you land on it, right? It may not be exact, but you're trying to find something close, right? Because this is what I do a lot of times when I'm doing magic. So if I'm doing a candle spell, treating the candle as a sigil in this case, right? Sort of like a sigil anyway. When I say I'm charging it with my intention, what I'm really doing, when I'm holding that candle and I'm energizing it and I'm visualizing the outcome, what I'm really doing is I'm seeking out that omniversal element, that I'm trying to create in my mind a perfect picture of that universe. And then my subconscious is going to try to get me there, right? By channeling my consciousness somewhere else. What do you think about that? Would you say that's accurate or close?
I'm actually not a big fan of the multiverse theory.
Okay.
I tend to think of more as, ultimately my answer to all of these questions is, I don't fucking know. I just work here. But
well, I wanted to clarify, when I say multiverse, I don't mean that I'm saying multiverse is right. I'm saying that as a model, it's the
yes.
like to say multiverse already puts an anthropomorphic spin on it. We're already saying that there are verses which can be identified in a human way. I don't think that's accurate.
Right.
I think that there is a block time omniverse, and then we create paradigms that look like universes. And we can find those universes, and they can be shaped like anything. There's cat universes, human universes, slug universes, necklace universes, all kinds of weird shit that just don't. So what you're saying, I agree, but I would also just want to clarify. When I say multiverse, I'm not saying science is right in that way. I'm saying the block time universe theory is probably closest to what is true, but it's probably more spiritual than that. It's probably more metaphysically true than that, right? So keep going.
Yeah, I'm a little more wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey kind of thing. And actually, Peter Carroll's last book, he explains, because his background is in complex math and theoretical physics. He explains, sort of from a chaos magic perspective, a model of the universe with all the math in it, about half of which I understood. But his basic view is that time is also three-dimensional. So you have sideways time and up and down time instead of just forward and backwards. And that the past doesn't exist in any fixed form any more than the future does. And the present is just the point at which all the sort of overlapping quantum waveforms collapse into one thing. But as soon as you're past that point, you can change the past the same way you can change the future.
So you don't agree with my assessment that time is an illusion, the past is only what you think it is. So in other words, my idea of that quantum entanglement and collapse issue, you don't collapse anything. There is no time. Time is an experience. In other words, time is not real, but it's a real experience. That's the only English that makes sense. So time is not real. There is no energy, form, function, or even, when I say no form, I don't necessarily mean the Platonic side, but there is no mechanism of time, right? There is no energy of time. There is no force called time. What there is an experience of time. It's a perspective. It's dimensional in the geometric sense. So if I say collapse the quantum wave field, what I'm really saying is I'm choosing a pattern to focus on, because that pattern doesn't. So the problem with the collapsing waveform is it has a problem with the law of thermodynamics. If every time I make a decision, a new universe is created, that's a big problem. Where does all the energy come from for that new big bang?
It is a big problem.
So that's not the problem. That's a problem of perception. The reality is, see, the problem with materialists is they think that reality exists external. They think that reality is external to the truth that they experience. They don't recognize that the subjective is the container for all objective truth. So therefore, you can argue it's not as rational. It's not Euclidean in the usual sense, but the subjective experience is Maya. It is the delusion, but it is what we have. There is no objective truth. So there is no lighter. There is no spoon. There is no lighter.
Mm-hmm.
What we're seeing when we collapse the waveform to make a lighter is we're choosing to see the collection of events that lead to this. And again, let's be truly accurate. Lighters don't exist as a noun. They're actually an event. They're actually more of an adjective or a verb. There is lightering. There is no lighter. There's no such thing as a lighter. There's only the lighter expression, the lighter manifestation. So we find this thing in our pattern. We go, that's a lighter. That's the collapse. So when we collapse a wave function, what's collapsing is our consciousness. You're not creating a universe. This lighter is both here, all over, all at the same time. We're just looking at it here, and so it's here. So in other words, we've focused on the one that's here. This is the one we see. But all the other ones still exist in their own way. They don't stop existing.
Yep.
They don't start existing. Right? So I don't know if you agree with that or if that clarifies, but that's how I untangle that bullshit web, because I hate that myself. I hate when people say, oh, it collapses the no, it doesn't. I don't think anything's collapsing. I think that's the problem with that is just so many-fold in physical law. It's just, no, I don't buy that. That would imply that there's, like you said, you don't like multiverse, and that's one reason I don't, is because that would imply that every time an atom even wiggles, a whole nother universe is created. Just to hold that one, no. That's so inefficient. It doesn't need to be that way. It just doesn't.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of quantum woo in the same way that one of my backgrounds is in electrical engineering, and same thing is like I get a little itchy every time radionics comes up, because like I've seen the schematics for a lot of those things, and it's
they're nothing. They're
literally doing nothing.
They're a sigil machine. And that's why I like JS, because he didn't try to imply that. Look, I didn't want to shoot down JS because I know what he's building. I know that I can build one in 5 minutes, but
no. And
part of the magic is you believe that there's something to it. Even if that means you're creating it, that's fine. But again, the symbolism is, if you want to make a radionics machine that makes fire, You stick a lighter in it, right? And you connect wires to a lighter and put that to your
Right.
touchpads and shit. It's a sigil machine, right? It's just a cool way to do sigil. I like it. I'll fuck with it. I'll try it for sure.
Mhm.
But the machine
will
don't
too.
matter.
Right.
The machine don't matter though. You could do the same thing by just drawing a picture and putting things on it.
People literally do that with radionics. They're called
exactly.
symbolic radionics machines.
Yep, and I've seen some of those where like you draw like a circuit sigil, and you put your input, output, all this. Yeah, I've seen those. It's a pretty cool idea.
Yep. I forgot what we were talking about.
Yeah, I do that. I have that problem. I'm
It
too.
was,
Am
with
I
your-
ODD? What is my problem? OCD or no? I'm OCD and ADD. That's what I am. I'm both.
You were actually discussing your background with electronics and how that makes the radionics machines weird, and also three-dimensional time and the multiverse.
Yeah, I like to simplify
yeah.
that as just the block time universe. That's just a better
And
definition. It's not perfect, but it's better.
not to keep us on this tangent, but since you brought it up, I was actually really amused. I was this close to reading out some of the comments on the last stream, because you were saying some really smart shit about electronics as it applied to the radionics machine. I'm like, this is why I like Eddie here. I feel like I like having smart people around me.
Well, that's my biggest problem with them. Is like they keep talking about vibration. It's like you're running it off of DC. There's nothing vibrating.
Well, so here's the
You
thing.
know?
A lot of them incorporate quartz crystals into them, so there's a piezoelectric element in their subconscious. Like in other words, there isn't. Like you and I would both agree, you're not subjecting it to pressure
Right.
or anything that would cause a piezoelectric. Yes, I understand some of this stuff. Sorry. So there's nothing there that would generate the signal that they're talking about. Just like when I hold this piece of quartz in my hand, I don't think the pressure of my hand's enough. Maybe if I tap it, right? Maybe if I wrap it on my table, that might create a little bit of static charge in it or something. It might create a little bit of a zzz in it, but me singing to it isn't really doing that, right? Just like using the touchpad isn't going to do that. But the symbolic
it's in the
connections there.
microvolts. Yeah.
Right, it's so little. Like that's a good way to put it. Like I probably couldn't pick it up on, I don't know. Do you think maybe you could tell me you know more? Just by like at what point, what would I have to do to this to get a reading off of this? Like what would I? Granted, it's a really dirty quartz. It's a rhodolite, so I don't know if it would be. Does it have to be really pure quartz, or does it matter? Do you know?
With quartz, I'm not really sure. What I do know is that old telephone microphones were actually piezoelectric, and they used charcoal.
And so your voice would vibrate the charcoal or whatever would vibrate the quartz or charcoal, whatever, and that would cause it. Is that what?
Yeah.
You're saying? Okay.
Yep.
So that was all.
That's
it took
how
then.
old. That's
Okay.
how. Yeah. And that's in the millivolts. Because the thing is that with the piezoelectric effect, you actually have to crack the crystal bonds
Mhm.
to get to free the electrons. But
do those crystal
we
bonds repair if in some like if you hit it? Am I damaging the crystal every time I do it permanently, or does it necessarily?
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So it's kind of like the sugar. It's exactly the same idea, by the way, guys, as the sugar crystals in Wintergreen Lifesavers. It's basically the same idea, but just on a
Yes.
much smaller scale. Yeah. Okay.
So the most common use of piezoelectrics was actually the other way round, which was using an electrical voltage difference of potential to cause a crystal to flex. So when we talk about crystal radios, what those were actually doing was you had a little lump of germanium crystal in there.
Okay. Yep.
And with a little wire sitting just like a millimeter above it. And
Just
so
close enough to make an electrical connection, basically. So that is that why, or what?
So that it
would
wouldn't.
spark?
There would be an
Oh, okay.
air gap there. And
I
so
see.
then when the signal from the radio would come in, it would cause the crystal to vibrate. And when it would flex, it would touch the wire and complete the circuit, thus rendering. This was
signal.
essentially a cheap a mechanical diode is what they
Gotcha.
were used for, because it would only let current through way.
So it was almost like
those were quickly replaced with vacuum
put it-
tubes.
to put it in an analogy, that's almost like the dot did da machine in a Morse code thing, but on a really tiny scale and going so fast that instead of hearing bop 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 bop, it goes boop. It makes a tone, right? Is that a fair analogy? Okay.
Yeah, you
I
can
like
do the
learning
same thing
things.
with a pencil, believe it or not.
Really? Because I know
They
the
used to make-
graphene
they're
in
called
there is.
yeah, it's called a point contact diode. And
Cool.
they're really shitty.
See, guys,
But
it really
vacuum
pays
tubes
off to be a
replace
nerd when you're doing magic. It really
those.
fucking does. Keep going, my friend. Keep going.
We like
Now,
nerds here.
now,
We are nerd
orgone
friendly.
accumulators.
Okay, that's
I'm
another
totally
good one. All
into
right.
orgone accumulators.
Okay, so cool. So
My-
you're actually
my
conscious. So
theory
I'm learning
is-
something here. So you're like, so when I said before singing to a crystal doesn't do anything, you actually say no, maybe it does, because that's enough energy to cause potentially a piezoelastic charge effect, right? That's almost enough potentially to cause something. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, a little
Cool,
bit.
I didn't know
A
that.
tiny
I did not
little
know
bit.
that I did not know. That is
But my
interesting.
thought is more of, so an orgone accumulator is essentially a box, and in the box you have alternating layers according to
A correctly
Reich.
made one. Yeah,
You-
according to a proper, well,
Right,
according to theory, properly made, right?
right. You have alternating layers of metal and natural substances, but from a certain perspective, that's basically the definition of a capacitor.
Mm-hmm.
So, with is creating, first of all, reduce the size of the plies, because you're supposed to do at least 3 ply. But my thought is, if you're using basically something like butcher's paper and like tin foil, like you could put like 50 ply in the space of what you would normally have 1 ply of like steel wool and cotton, which is what most
Okay.
people seem to use, or like tin sheets and wood panels. But if you think about that in the sense of, it's essentially an energy concentrator. So imagine you have a small box that's a complete orgone accumulator, and now you put a crystal in there that has these symbolic properties and the sigil of your intent and this, that, and the other. And now all of these things are just sort of sitting in there, radiating their energy at each other. And this thing's holding it all in. And essentially then, and what the hell, put a radionics box in there too.
Fuck it, let's do it all.
You know?
Throw sigils, call a spirit, do the
Right.
whole thing.
I'll put a fucking Tesla coil on it. I don't care.
Fuck yeah.
You know,
Well, I got to talk to you about making my
Yeah, so-
radionics box if I make one. I want it to be so Frankenstein and Lovecraftian looking. And you like vacuum tubes, so I want to talk to you about getting like a good setup for that. Like you're gonna have to treat me like a noob with fucking electronics.
Oh, yeah.
But keep going.
So then essentially what you would have is what I call the easy manifest oven, right? You just put your shit in the box, you close the box, out pops your miracle. You know, set it and forget it. I'm gonna have an infomercial and everything.
So here's the thought, okay? In Become the Maelstrom, one of the key factors that I bring up, this is not so much a technical necessity. In other words, this is not a machine. I don't like when people treat magic as a technological machine with moving parts and it requires this energy here and electricity there and blah blah blah. That is unfortunately, I think, only bringing you deeper into the matrix, right? It's actually only embedding you deeper like a tick into the Maya delusion. However, there is as built into Maya, since we're all kind of, I don't want to say trapped in it because we're willingly here. Like we're more like we're fucking, all right? Look, guys, I'm going base for a moment. Think of being alive more like you're fucking. This isn't an experience you want to escape from. This is great. You're having a good fucking time. You're not in
Literally.
You're not in this Maya, we'll say pussy just because I express male, but let's say whatever it is for you, whether you're being screwed by it or whatever, you are doing this because it is exactly the pleasurable experience that your higher self wants, okay? You're not trying to get out of it. So let's leave that where it is. So what I'm getting at, in Become the Maelstrom, what I talk about is that good magic has a mental mind component, a physical component, and a spiritual component. Spiritual being the consciousness component. right? So the mind is the identified, the conscious is the experience and the forms and all the spiritual things, and the body is the material side. So good magic, since you are so deeply in bed with Maya right now, to do magic using only one of those three is technically possible, but it's like trying to ride a bicycle with one wheel and one pedal. If you really want to get anywhere, you got to have two wheels and two pedals and a steering column and all that good shit. You need a fully functioning bike. So if you want to do magic that is only astral, like let's say you only want to talk to King Paimon, you will need a physical bridge somewhere so that you can kind of get out of your own physicality a little bit. But ultimately, that's mostly astral. So you don't need much. That's why a candle, just as an example, is like one of the requirements, but not a requirement. You can use a candle, you can use incense, you can use music. Something physical has to be happening to put you into a physical place that makes it reliable. Even if that's just taking a deep breath and like saying his name even. Okay, that's a physical expression. Real magic requires kind of like a good balance of all three somewhere. This is why I will tell people, like, even people say like, oh, I don't need a ritual temple. And so I'm like, you don't, but then your body becomes like your temple. Your body becomes your tool. You still need a physical medium for your intention to manifest through. So what you're describing and what we're talking about with radionics or orgone in particular, like what we're describing then, is kind of a high intellect excuse for manifestation in a physical way. In other words, I don't think it's necessary. Like, I don't think orgone does anything that you can't do with other methods. I really don't. But I do think it's an excellent method. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like if you never mess with orgone, you can still do everything orgone does in other ways. But orgone is a good way for people who think this way, because it creates a conduit maybe for manifest. I'm kind of, what's the word for it? I'm not stating fact. I'm hypothesizing, whatever the word is. I'm theorizing. What do you think of that?
Orgone is total bullshit.
Okay.
And you have to be careful screwing around with orgone because the FDA will come knocking on your door.
Really?
Oh yeah, they're really serious about that. Still are.
Now, when we say orgone, am I
actually.
using the wrong word? Like organite? Like, am I using the wrong word? Am I doing it wrong? Like, what am I doing wrong? So is there something called orgone that's what, they don't like people having orgone crystals? Like, what's the deal here?
Orgone treatments is one of the main reasons the FDA is cracking down on a lot of things like that. Because
so like for charlatans saying they can
used...
cure cancer and all that kind of shit?
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Okay.
As long as you aren't, in general, just as a general FYI for everybody, you should never ever say that you are able to diagnose or treat any illness. As long as you don't do that, the FDA is probably going to leave you alone. But they get real touchy about orgone.
Just like if you say, like, you give somebody legal advice and all that, yeah.
Yeah. But the main thing is that, yeah, you don't need all the stuff. It's like martial arts, right? I can come to you hands, right? And if there's a conflict, maybe I'll be able to win, maybe I won't. But it is possible for me to defend myself with just my empty hands.
Yeah, martial arts is a game of percentages.
If there's a gun sitting there, I'm going to pick up the fucking gun.
Much higher percentage option. That's why I call it a game of percentages, because your fist is like, rolling a d20 and hoping for a 20 or an 18 or a 19. Picking up a gun is rolling a d20 and hoping for a 5, a 6, or a 7 or higher. It's much more likely to succeed as long as you don't suck at it.
And in magic, it's like you say all the time. It's not that the spirits care about the big elaborate ritual. That part of my brain that feels like I accomplished something cares about that. And there's something to be said for the more complicated and big you get with the ritual, the easier it is for your conscious mind to accept that this will work.
I've had both
And
happen.
that's the thing
I think
you
there's a
really
sweet
have
spot.
to have.
I think there's a sweet spot
Yeah.
because I've done rituals that were too simple and I felt total shit, so I agree. But then I've done rituals that were way too complicated and I just felt lost doing them and it didn't work. There's a sweet spot. I think that
Yeah.
sweet spot is different for everybody though. I think for some people, lighting a candle and saying a few words over it and charging the candle and all that works. Just like for some people, sigils work really well. For other people, sigils are like, there's a mental block of how could drawing a picture on a piece of paper do magic, right? So then what do they
Right.
do? A lot of those people will say, okay, like let's say they want to keep doing sigils, then they'll start getting really fancy paper, like they'll get vellum or parchment, and they'll use blood ink, and they'll get really into the nitty gritty occult side of it, like what I call occult, like the edgy shit. They'll make edgy sigils out of blood. They'll be like, somebody kill a chicken and give me the blood, and they'll make something like that. They'll do weird shit. Or you get the as I often call them, the postmodernist fedora wearing, neck bearded chaos magicians that they'll get toilet paper and they'll just scribble it on with basically jizz and they'll let it fly that way. So like
Yep.
it's different for everybody, guys. This is a language. Pretend it's a language or it's a musical taste. Like, I think music is maybe a better analogy. It's like music, right? There's a lot of different kinds of music, but then there's a music that even if you're eclectic like I am, and pretty much there is no form of music that you hate. There may be artists you don't like, but there's no brand of music you don't like. You still know that when you go to listen to music, there's a couple that you aim for, right? Even if you're an eclectic, you still go for, I like that though, right? Magic's like that in a lot of ways.
I use the music analogy a lot. It's your Golden Dawn guys are like the classical musicians,
Mm-hmm.
and
they often
magic is very much very much punk.
Fucking punk rock.
Punk rock magic.
What,
Yeah, I see that. Yep.
What
Well, let's
we
not call it
do
postmodernists because
is-
they like to destroy the classical element a lot in chaos magic. Like if you,
Yeah.
they don't mind if you talk about Lucifer, but as soon as you start saying I spoke to Lucifer, a lot of them go, wait a minute, you liar! Like they suddenly have a problem, right?
Yeah. But whereas what we do, I tend to compare more to jazz, where there is structure there, but the art is in innovating within the structure.
Mhm.
It's not in just following the notes, but there's a difference between the music I listen to and the music I play. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That's a good point too. That's a very good point too. I definitely
and
don't play the
ultimately-
music that I listen to.
Ultimate X's videos. I don't know that I'm ever going to be that good. You know what I mean? And ultimately, this is art. This is a form of performance art. Only we're performing for ourselves, right? And that's an aspect to it. And a lot of it is, I could probably get away with simpler. My rituals are pretty damn simple, but I could get away with simplifying them further. I could do it with just a sigil if I wanted to, but at a certain point, I'm also expressing myself here.
If it's not cleansing that spiritual colon, you're not doing it right. So if you're just giving it a little push, nothing happens. You got to bear down on that fucker and let that energy go.
Because magic is stored in the
butt. Thank you. See, this is why I like our stuff, because everyone else is either so highbrow that it's just like
for magic.
Like you said, the Golden Dawn people, they're so highbrow, or the Hermetic people, and I do that too with my non-dualism, but I feel like a barbarian that's been taught to sing poetry in the most beautiful language ever, but halfway through it, he still scratches his pits and sniffs them, right? That's what I feel like as a magician. I'm just like, yes, roses are beautiful, and to me, that like somehow that's us, I think, as a group, right? I think that's maybe not the most proud moment of my life, but I think that's Thorne's energy is the educated savage, right?
So let's
Are
review.
you trying to be Joe Rogan?
I guess so. I'm the Alex Jones Rogan of fucking magic. That's what I'll be. The Alex Jones Rogan of magic. Yeah.
So let's review. Number 1, magic is stored in the butt. Number
Magic
2,
is in the butt.
balls deep in Maya.
Multi Maya. Very good. Very good. Yes, that's the lesson, everybody. Put it in the comments. That is the lesson Balls deep in Maya, magic stored in the butt. Perfect. I love
There's gonna
it.
be a quiz later. So,
Perfect.
okay, just I am. You started talking music, and that's my language right there. What following through with that analogy? What would the other popular forms of magic be compared to music? I take slight disagreement with the jazz thing, by the way. Not that it's wrong, but I would compare it more to noise music.
I mean,
Yeah.
to me, I say chaos magic is a postmodernist style because you're literally ripping out the classical elements of magic. At least on a when I say ripping out, that doesn't mean you never use them. It just means that you no longer find them. So like imagine Christian art without the Christianity, right? Like what is that? So like a classical art, like what like you can still have interesting postmodernism, but I generally personally I don't like postmodernist art. I think it's ugly. But postmodernism is
You have
taking
no
out
culture.
it's taking out the trappings. So it's when I say the reason I say it is because the idea of not being dogmatic for most practitioners, and when I say most, I mean that. I don't mean all. I mean a large percentage of chaos practitioners. When they say taking out the dogmatism, just like we said earlier, step one is to completely shit on all dogma and say, none of it's real. It's all this. It's a science, and be completely completely left-brained about magic, and it's a materialistic practice in some way that if you get the sigil just right, it'll work. And that's like step one, right? And so it becomes postmodernist. They rip out the classical symbolism, but they'll still use the symbols where they fit, but they don't put any weight on them. Whereas I think, jazz isn't a horrible analogy because jazz kind of is a postmodernistic version of the music that they were listening to. So in other words, they're ripping out some of the elements and reusing them in a new way, but they weren't so postmodern where like they completely like stopped quoting, right? So like a postmodernist won't quote the scripture. They won't, but they might use the scripture. I can't. The words are failing me how to put this into English, but it's one thing to read a passage from the Bible. It's another thing to put feeling into it and believe it. So a postmodernist might read the Psalms for a ritual, but they think of it as just a sonic vibration that doesn't do anything. Like there is no Yahweh granting the ritual's outcome. Whereas a classicist would believe that the psalm is literally invoking a spiritual being down into the temple, and that's doing it, and that's the power. I sit sort of in the middle where I think you're doing both. I think that the spiritual element is there, but I think that the psalm doesn't do shit, and I don't think it's an invocation, and I don't think that, but I still put it all together, and I'll use it as a sigilized form of magic, I guess is a way to put it. So jazz isn't bad. I don't hate that analogy. I don't, but I think it's maybe your form, Eddie, is more like jazz, but I think a lot of people, like when I go on the Chaos Magic community pages on Facebook, that's mostly a bunch of postmodernists practicing some weird eclectic mix of formulas to me. Like I look at that and go, okay, that's interesting, but where's the higher? Like what? There's no higher.
Yeah.
It's noise. Like Desmond's saying, it's noise to me. It's just noise. It's throwing spaghetti at the wall and going, ooh, look, shapes.
Hey, and I don't mean noise like, you kids turn that damn noise off. I mean like noise music as in like, let's make something weird.
Which is what I said before, right? I said, let's try to pick out all the genres and see how we can screw them together and make a weird sound that sounds good. I want country, I want rap, I want rock, I want heavy metal, I want classical, jazz. I want it all in there at the same time.
I want to be the throbbing gristle of magic.
The throbbing gristle. That's very
just
postmodern.
Screaming.
Yeah.
Discipline at people.
I think that's a reference
yes.
I don't get. I think that's a band reference that I don't get.
I'll educate you a little bit later.
Yeah.
So I guess we're just going to do one caller tonight because Eddie was a rare treat, and he's more like a guest. He's more like a featured guest. So I apologize. I don't think we're gonna have time to get anybody else to tonight.
Sorry.
No, it's cool.
You got nothing to be sorry for.
You did most of the listening. I did most of the talk. I'm like, just like Alex Jones. Let's get on the most interesting guests in the world while I talk, and they can listen to me talk. That's basically what I do. That's why I compare myself to Alex Jones. It's an annoying habit, but it's mine. I do it more with a newcomer than with someone I've talked to a bunch. You'll notice that. It's a nervous habit. So, forgive me.
I will forgive you, but will
I-
the audience? They will decide.
Oh, that's why my views are going down. I'm too much like Alex Jones, but I don't do the fucking frogs gay thing.
They're putting
I
shit in the
like you,
beer that
Stuart.
makes the flesh priest gay.
Sorry. No, you're part of that agenda, dude. You're the stuff they put in the water that turns the frogs gay.
I definitely am. That's why I am representing the rainbow on these live streams.
Turn yourself green so we can see what it's like when you turn the frogs. There we go. There it is. Actually, it's more of a cyan. That's more of a cyan. That one.
This is this is
That's
actually Kermit the Frog green. The camera just doesn't pick it up very well.
Yeah, the camera leans towards the UV, so it's picking up. It leans towards the other. Which one does it lean toward? Well, actually, both. It's got a wider spectrum range than our eyes do.
Yeah,
so
but my camera's like me. It leans both.
It leans both. Yeah. What I'm trying to say is it's got a wider spectrum range, so what it actually puts out is going to be a little bit off from. Anyway, it shifts things a couple of octaves, we'll say, in a direction. So green usually looks blue because it's LED and it's a pure single source light. So since the way it works is there's different. It's picking up more of the blue because of the way the blue is brighter to the camera than the green is. We'll put it that way. So the thing that makes it green is not real. I can't. I'm tired. I can't. Your eyes don't actually. Your eyes don't actually see certain colors. Like you don't have a thing that sees certain colors. So the way RGB works is actually not technically right. So, but that's how it transmits because our eyes see that way and a camera doesn't. So your eyes see a certain way, a camera sees another way. So when the camera receives it, it's actually doing it differently than that's why it looks different. I've seen this. I've done it. A white light on a camera looks blue, and a blue light can sometimes look like purple, and like go all these weird different color shade changes. I've seen it happen a lot. So
the camera's experience of greenness is different than the light's experience of greenness.
That's a good way to put it. Yes, you're out thorning Thorne. Very good. I love it.
Just like we were talking about last week with JS about the colors. Is what if all of our favorite color was blue?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was one of the.
It might not have been
callers that called in.
Yeah,
JS was there,
JS.
but I think it was with somebody else.
It might have been. I remember that statement. I just don't remember who it was with. Sorry, there's my sieve working again. I remember the big part. I forget the little piece.
If I was out thorning Thorne, I'd say, from a non-dualist perspective, all colors are green.
From a non-dualist perspective, all is color. And green is just one possible way to experience that color.
Well, from a true non-dualist perspective, all.
Fuck you. How about this? From a non-dualist perspective.
Hold on, I feel like I'm supposed to be seeing something. What
No,
just happened?
I was just eyeballing you. From a non-dualist perspective. Yeah, that's the great thing. What is a non-dualist perspective? That's like a joke waiting to happen. What is the perspective of a non-dualist? That's the joke. That's the joke. You only get it if you get it.
I'll tell you what the perspective of a duelist is. Fucking fight me.
Motherfucker, what is that?
That's a duel.
That is the gayest one I've ever seen. I love it. Let's fight.
I'm sorry that we all can't have a big one.
It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be there. It's there. Look, you're like fighting with Yoda's, okay? You got Yoda's lightsaber.
It's not the size of the
followed by saber gay.
wand.
To be honest, guys, this one's small. If you actually go, like my kid had this, and he like brought it. This is a small lightsaber because it is. This is actually closer to like I don't know. I think 36 inches altogether. It's actually I like this size though. This is actually the size of sword that I often like. But
okay, well I just have a micro then.
So you've got like a combat dagger or something. You got like a big Bowie knife lightsaber. You got a wakizashi. I've got a short katana, like a ko katana, and you've got a wakizashi or a tanto, an o tanto. You've got an o tanto. That's what that is.
I'd like to get in close so I could see the life leave their eyes as they die.
Well, if you get too close, it's your own life leaving your own eyes as you die. Because
that won't happen. I can't die. My reality just shifts. Oh, Jesus. It's getting late.
Yeah, I'm trying to change the color of my lightsaber. Hold on. Somebody said Darth Thorne. I want to go back to like being a good guy for a minute.
I need...
The Sith are the good guys.
No
The
one's
Jedi are
good.
the real bastards.
Because
What the hell was it? 1, 2, 1, 2.
Because feel
2,
in our hearts.
3.
What was that, Eddie?
Because we feel in our hearts. We don't deny what makes us human or sentient beings, our emotions, our passions.
Well, the Sith allow their emotions to rule them, and that is where they fall. But the Jedi still are letting their emotions rule them because they deny them, which means that they have power over them. So that is the lesson of attachment that Star Wars never learned. Like, that's why when I watch Star Wars, I go, my goodness, you guys are all idiots. No wonder we need somebody to bring balance to the Force.
So what I'm
That is-
understanding is the Mandalorians
That is
know
leftist
the true way.
This leftist Jedi.
That's leftist Jedi propaganda. The Sith are the balance.
Wait a minute.
Fucking fake news.
It's fake news, man. You're all fake news. There we go. That's my color. I'm on fucking Mace Windu's fucking planet, dude. That's my. I like purple. I don't know what it is. Does that mean I'm Flesh? Is that part of the agenda? Liking a purple lightsaber?
I mean, my favorite color is purple, so take that how you will.
Fuck.
Oh,
I'm agenda in every way except for the sex. Like, what the hell?
Next thing you know, it won't be Camilla in your bed with you, it will be me. Haha, we will be discovering magic together, just like Crowley in the desert.
Anyway, guys, on that
Yeah,
note, I'd like to
everybody-
thank you for tuning in. Oh my goodness, we kind of went all over the place tonight, man, but that's good. That's good. So
Yeah, we gotta
let's
explore all things and walk that crooked path.
give them the buy our crap segment. Let me turn this back on to sound.
Oh shit, Camilla's actually here. She heard that thing. I love you, Camilla. I'm certainly not planning on unlocking magic at all.
So what the hell is it? So 4 turns it. There's no sound anymore. What, did I bang it? Did I fuck it up? Did I break it?
Touch it to the quartz.
Right?
Unlock
2,
the Kyber crystal.
3, 4.
Also,
That should be changing its sound. What the hell?
I love you, Eddie, for that Star Trek reference earlier. I always get fucked up because I can never remember how many lights it was, and I feel like
I don't either.
oh no, I feel like the fucking what was that race called? I feel like
Cardassians?
Cardassians, thank you. I feel like that Cardassian torture may have worked because I can't remember. There are 3 lights.
That's actually a ripoff, if I remember correctly, of 1980 something in 1984, right? Wasn't it, or was it?
Yep.
Yeah, I think it was directly.
In 1984, it was Fingers.
It was Fingers. Yeah.
4
Yep.
fingers.
So you've been
remember that.
you're already being indoctrinated to the reverse indoctrination of 1984. Your agenda will not succeed here.
I am the Discord deep state.
Oh fuck.
Oh shit, hey. It's almost like I planned it. I'm on brand tonight.
Oh, you're wearing my shit? He's wearing my shit, guys. So since we're at the buy our crap moment, that's an example of some of the crap you can buy if you go to the link in the link tree that goes to Teespring. I have t-shirts, I have muscle shirts, I have tapestries like the one you see behind me. Yeah, you know what? I need to put some pentagrams up and shit because I think that's going to sell better. Most people look at that like, yeah, that's cool, but what does that even mean? I don't want it. So I'm going to put some other stuff up too. I'll put some other things at some point. But we have our Etsy stores doing good, but it's empty right now. I think I got like 2 books on there. It's empty because everything fucking sold since the last time we put them up. So I'm going to be making some more skulls for Etsy very soon. I got to be inspired. I don't want to just do them to do them. My wife actually is, I think at this moment, working on a puzzle, but she is also working on mirrors this week. So she said to me to tell everybody that by the end of the weekend, we will probably have some new stock on Etsy for mirrors, if not everything, because I'm expecting more books to come in for signature too. So if you guys want signed copies of my books, that will be coming in as well soon, but not yet. The big thing though, if you guys want to help me out, if you're interested, if you go to Patreon, as of right now, I normally don't encourage you to go to Patreon because I don't like to get paid for nothing. So right now I've got a special thing going on Patreon where if you look at it, there is a new group lesson format thing I'm doing. Similar to the mentorship program, except this is going to be more of a focused classroom structure for up to about 22 people. Right now I think we got 5 or 6. I think we're at 5. I'll have to look. So we've got 5 people signed up, plus 2 that are already part of my mentorship program that'll probably be joining us. It's going to be more like a classroom where we come in like a martial arts class. You're going to come in, little introduction. We'll do some kind of like group meditation or group energy work or something like that. Then we'll do some lecture, some magical instruction. It's going to be a little more formula. In other words, we're going to be reading from my books. You don't need to have copies of my books. But if you want to participate in that, it's a paid service, but I think it's a good idea. I think you guys will enjoy it. It's a lot more on point than our live streams. Our live streams are very much just a magical frat party where instead of talking about beer and shit, we're talking about magic. So if you guys want a little bit more of a formal conversation, a lesson structure, this is where you'd go. And it's really good for people of all skill levels. And I'll probably have special guests. Maybe I'll give Eddie $20. Like, hey Eddie, join us for an hour. You know, and he can show up. I'll get some other people. I'll pay him for like an hour or two of helping out with lectures and stuff. So if you guys are interested, that is there, and I really think it will serve you well because it's only $20. It's not $150 like my mentorship normally is. It's actually quite affordable. We'll see how it goes because this is the trial run. If it goes well, I'll probably expand it. If it stays small, I'll just keep doing it so long as people keep coming. But hopefully it'll take off a little bit and we get some real class work going. We will include live ritual, group ritual, all that stuff. So that's the big sell of the night. If that interests you guys, please check it out. You might want to jump into it. So, and Bob was talking about busting his jeans. I don't know who's making fun of, probably me. But yeah, so Spooky Wagon, no, it's not chaos magic. It's DH Thorne magic. That's kind of a chaos magic in its own way because I don't put anything on it like that. Yeah, Bob is saying you, so I guess he's being a smartass. Ooh, good for you. You're being a smartass. So if you guys are, and maybe Bob is interested though. Maybe he brings order. Okay, that's great. Bring order. Doesn't seem to be working, but that's cool. So if you guys are interested, jump in that. It's a lot of fun, hopefully. So we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes. All right, guys. So what do you think, Flesh? What do you think, Eddie? What are we doing?
I'm gonna go to sleep.
I know. I'm like, you know what it is?
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't have Coke before we did this again, because last week I had like a little bit of Coca-Cola, and I was just like really bad. So I'm kind of glad that I didn't tonight.
Nah.
So. Spooky, you're not in trouble again. My goodness, you haven't been in trouble yet. I just told you don't do that.
So how did invitation to plug, because like I said, you're doing stuff now, Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie's doing it now.
Where can people find you if they're interested?
Join the Discord. Easiest way right now. I'm gonna be standing up an Etsy shop at some point, and launching a YouTube channel, and yada 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 yada. But yeah,
that's damn. We know you're a guest on the show, but like, we're inviting you to plug yourself, and you plug our Discord. Link up above my head.
Link above the head. Go to the Discord. Yeah, like what are you doing, dude? We should put. We should put. Yeah, we should put.
Wagaba Fat Magav.
I like that. Wagaba Fat Magav. It's actually better than it sounds. It really is. Wagaba Fat Magav. What was the old one? Was Sexy Tree. That was the good one. I like Sexy Tree.
Oh, rest in peace, Sexy Tree.
I miss Sexy Tree. I really do. Oh, Sexy Tree. What will we do without you? Moment of silence for Sexy Tree. Web of Fat McGav. That's what it is now, guys. So join at Web of Fat McGav. Don't be a dick. Don't be a douche. That's my job. That's Flesh's job. Don't be that in Discord. We are the assholes there. Don't try to compete with us on that. Or else Eddie we'll do that thing that Eddie does. What do you do, Eddie?
I kick the shit out.
Apparently that's all you've got now. So we're going to have to
Yeah.
give you more than kicking capability. But yeah. So don't point that sword at me, Mr. Thorne, said Spooky Wagons. It's not a sword though. Like a lightsaber is more like a baseball bat that like cuts things. It's like
Yeah, it's a saber, not a sword. There's a distinct difference, and let me go back to my historical martial arts, and I will show you.
I don't think, no, it doesn't count as a saber. It definitely doesn't count as a saber. It's nothing like a saber. It's basically a kendo stick is what it is. Treat it like a kendo stick. It's exactly what it is. So if you know kendo, then you know how they are using lightsabers wrong. Yeah, how they're using lightsabers wrong. That's not how you use a kendo stick, but that's basically what it is. So anyway, guys, I think that's where we're going to call it tonight. Eddie, I will shut up again for 30 seconds. Tell them about what you're offering and how they can reach you if they want your work. How can they do that?
Come find me on Discord. And I offer tarot readings, rune readings. For rituals, you have to do a consult, which I charge $50 for. But if we then go ahead with the ritual, I count that towards the price of the ritual. And actually, most people, when we have the consult, we find out they don't need the ritual. Or I'll at least give you something to try on your own first. Because I'd much rather teach you how to fish than give you a fish.
Hell yeah.
You know, that's been like what I've been saying for a long time. I see a lot of charlatans just saying, I'll do any ritual you want, ritual. Everything will be fixed. And that doesn't happen, guys. Like you can usually, I did a video, I forget, was it last year? Like how to spot frauds and charlatans in this work. And I think the legitimate ones, I'm learning to like the term magical life coach. I like to see myself, and that's actually unfortunately and I say unfortunately because it's not what my intention was. My mentorship program has become a magical life coach system where people just join up and we talk about their life and everything that's going on, and we talk about what magic they can do and all that stuff. And that's more like what I do, right? That's more like what I think Eddie's talking about. He's going to be your magical life coach. He's going to talk to you, find out what's going on, figure out what you need magically, ritualistically, spiritually, metaphorically, whatever the fuck. He's going to sit you down and he's going to talk to you about it, and then decide based on whatever he decides. In other words, some people use divination, some people just read, some people use their gut. I don't know what he's going to do. Maybe Eddie can tell us, but he's going to sit you down, talk to you, figure out what you need, and then, and only then, do something. The worst thing you can do is I have to, for the sake of advertising purposes, I've got to put on my website this ritual I offer, and I do have certain rites that are very specifically tailored for certain things. Like, well, some of them, like for example, the Sin Eater ritual that I do. That one is very tailored for a specific purpose. But when people come to me we'll just use the usual thing, I need my girlfriend back. There's no spell that says I need my girlfriend back. There's a million of them. If you look online, you can find a come to me spell. That's not what we're here for. Like, you can do that yourself if that's what you're down with. If you're coming to one of us, it's really because something inside you needs to be told something higher. That I think is what it is, personally. So we go with that. And then sometimes that results in ritual being done. So take that to the bank, I think. Eddie would probably agree, right, Eddie, or no? He's like,
Yep.
What? He's like, I'm here. I'm here.
Yep. And my project this year that hopefully will turn into a book is I'm working on a system of demonic Enochian.
Okay, interesting. Very interesting.
Ooh.
I've thought about that. You know, I think in a way, not to say that that's what Sigil Script is, but when I did Sigil Script, I think that was my point, was a secular kind of sigilization work, as a secular language for magic that would not be confused with demon or angel, right? I wanted to make it just some arcane looking symbols that would work for me. But if you can, the problem you're going to have with demonic Enochian is considering the lore behind Enochian and all of the stuff that goes into that makes it plausible, I guess, according to even some skeptics. That's a tough set of shoes to fill. So I wish you luck, and I'm eager to see what you get, and if it can be on the same thing, because that's an undertaking, man. Especially if you're going to do it in a really deep way and make it a language and really find that language. I am interested to see what you come up with, because that's going to be pretty. I don't envy that. Like, my brain doesn't wrap that way. Like, I try to do that and I go, no, that's too big, or that's too technical, or nope, not right, not creating a language. Sorry, not going to happen. I wish you luck.
Going the Tolkien route.
Yeah, really.
Well,
yeah,
it scratches my cryptography itch. So
Oh, fuck yeah, dude.
Oh, yeah. You know, that's the thing. Like, did Tolkien find a mystical language, or was that just something that happened? Right. Interesting.
Oh, you know what? Last little note from me on the cryptography thing. Earlier we were talking about making sigils. I have a method that is not actually visual, but take your sentence of intent or whatnot, and because I really like cryptographic puzzles, I'll plug in a fucking I always forget the name of it. I'll run it through a cipher, and the key phrases I'll use, I'll just let a number pop into my head, flip to that page in the dictionary, pull out a word, pull out 3 words, make that my key, and just jumble it to where I don't know what the fuck it said anymore after letting it sit for a few days, and just use that as a mantra. Just try to pronounce whatever comes out as best you can.
You know, that can work. The thing that I find is that you don't want to erase all cognitive connection. What you're trying to do is require that the connection be subconscious. So there should still be some element of recognizability to what you've got there, except you can't. So, like, one of the techniques, I hate to be going back into the conversation when we're backing out, but one of the techniques that I like to use is create a sigil.
It's kind of my fault.
To create a sigil, and then a month or 2 later, when I've forgotten what the wording was, use it then. So I want to create a sigil, very specific, very perfect. And if I can get to the point where I don't even know what the sigil does, that's when I burn that fucker. I'm like, yeah, now it's time. Because I don't even know what it's for. I'm just going to trust my intention at the time. Maybe it manifested already. Maybe it didn't. You know, sometimes when I do it, I'll write it in my journal what it's for. And then without looking at my journal, we'll see what it was for. I'll do it. And then I'll read the journal afterwards, like a day or 2 afterwards, and see if it manifests. Try that. See how that works for you guys. I've done that a few times, and I do like that method. The only problem is that I find it hard to forget what my intention was. I've got one that's sitting in a box, and because it's in that box, I'll probably never forget. I vaguely remember what it's for. So, like, I don't know if I'll ever burn that one. And I think the more that I sit on it, the more it becomes ingrained what it means. But I bet you if I looked at it, so like if I had my wife go in there and pull that sigil out and replace it with another one, I wouldn't know. Like, I have no idea what it looks like. So maybe it would work. I'd have to, you know, try it though. What do you think, Eddie? That'll be our last thing. What do you think, Eddie? You think that's a viable technique, or is that going too far?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. That's a sign. Sure. I saw the thumbs up though. That's good. Sure.
Yeah. Seems legit.
It sounds legit. Let's give it a shot. All right, guys. So some of you guys I'll be seeing on Monday, and for the rest of you, mind the shadows. And what's our other catchphrase now, Fleshy?
Tell your friends, warn your enemies.
And never take yourself as seriously as your enemies do. Good night, everybody.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Good night.